Geez, man, it's been what, 2 weeks since we last recorded, and I forget how everything works. I don't know how to record anymore.
It's okay.
It was a long few weeks, honestly, but I don't know. Today's a good day for me, if I'm honest. Played volleyball.
That's good.
The sand burned my feet. Now I have to put aloe at the bottom of my feet, so I'm scared I'm gonna slip and just fall on my face.
Wait, so like it actually was that?
It was so hot, and the entire time, if you're barefoot, you kind of just get rid of all the dead skin. So it's not raw, but it does feel a bit like it's flaring up a bit.
Okay.
I'm just kind of it's this, and it was terribly hot, at the beginning, and then you get used to it, and you just kind of nut up and shut up about it. So it's no big deal.
I really don't know if is it because I grew up by the beach, or is it just my personality where I just don't care to go to the beach ever?
I hate the beach, honestly. I don't care to go. There's nothing to do. It's hard for me to just sit and be okay with it, we're going to go hang out. If they say, we're going to hang out at a park, I'm like, to do what? To do what? And that's my personality. I want to have an activity to do. We're going to go to your house. Okay, cool. We're going to play video games. We're going to watch a movie. We're going to go to a park and just sit and hang out. I don't know. Let's play soccer. Let's cook food. If we cook food, that's something. I need an activity to keep me busy because I'm pretty sure I have ADHD like every other person on the planet. But that's just how when I like the beach now because there's volleyball.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's fair.
Do you feel the same way, man? Do you care about the beach?
So I went to the beach last week, actually, and the beaches on the East Coast are way shallower, so you can walk out yards and yards and yards into the ocean and still be walking at shin level. So it's pretty crazy.
And then the hurricane comes and hits
it. Yeah. And but in terms of the beach that I just went to, it is a little weird. We didn't really have directives. And we went with a couple people. It was Alicia and I and a couple friends. And I enjoyed it, but I think we were there for about 2 hours. The first hour was spent exclusively standing in the water. I don't know how I feel about just standing in water. And then the second half was spent barefoot climbing the boulder ridge, the rocks along the shore.
Climbing rocks,
and that's what I did. Yeah, a couple people did
dumb.
It. Yeah, it's pretty stupid. I got my toes stuck between a rock, and I almost broke it.
God.
Dude,
yeah. I have a big old. Yeah, I know. I have a big old cut on my toe now.
God.
Yeah, my feet get fucked up. This. We've been through this before.
The Atlantic Ocean is actually
times.
supposed to be warm, though, right?
That's why
I think it was.
Right?
Yeah,
that's science. You guys have warmer water. That's why it happens. We have here in Southern California, we have the big cold swells. That's why our water's cold. But we're never really going to get hit by any big earth water attack. I forgot. Natural disaster. The word is natural disaster.
Ooh, buddy, we're elemental now. No, so when we were there, it was actually freezing cold.
So the Pacific Ocean on everything.
Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, but both Alicia and I, because they're not from the States actually, so they're used to beaches where they're from. But we were telling them, on the East Coast or on the West Coast, back in California, where we grew up, the beaches are even colder than this. And when we said that, I knew it was true, but it doesn't feel like it's true. It felt like the water was almost as cold as the Pacific.
Well, it's a hard thing to reference. Temperature memory isn't really real as it is.
Yeah, there are philosophy memes about this somewhere.
Yeah, that does sound like a thing. When I was in Hawaii, the water was nice. The water was clean and it was good and it was nice. And I remember when
What was the temperature?
800. I don't know. Just warm.
800 Celsius.
You can get in and you're not like shivering at any point. You're never like regretful to go down in the water. You're just kind of like, I don't want to go in the water. Yeah,
that's good.
Not even that like pool point where it's or unheated pool point where you just need to like jump in and bear with it for a second. And
there is like a little bit of that, but like it's more so. I would be like, I don't want to go in because I'm only going to be waist deep, and my skin's going to get cold from the winds. Like that's what I was thinking of. Mm-hmm. But when I first get there, Waikiki is like the big strip of like the Oahu Island. Like it's the big tourist trap. And I was like talking to someone there that was a local, and they were like a friend of mine. They're like, "Oh yeah, the waters are very clean. So like you wouldn't have to shower after you leave. It's very clean water. But it's covered in disgusting tourists, and they're dirty. So you should like water immediately." Like, and it was like super suggested. Like as soon as you get out of the water, like rinse off the water. Like it's super gross because it's like tons of people. Like tons and tons of people. So like you never know. And like, yeah, I was just like, why are we here? Like go to another beach. Like
that sounds like they're full of shit a little bit.
But, yeah, I don't know. But I think it was just kind of maybe like a bit, but I was just like, okay, well now I'm going to tell everyone that people are gross.
People are gross. That part is true for sure.
I'm used to my beaches being heavily polluted, so
yeah. It was. I've never. When I was in the water, like there were some areas where like you could see through it, like that's how clean. And I was like, this is pretty crazy. Like this is bonkers comparison to the brown like mud sand water that happens in California.
Yeah. For the record, the beach we went to, you could actually see your feet pretty far out. But I don't know if that was because of the depth. But even in shallow water in California, it's like pretty fucking dirty.
Pretty I love when people like I have family in Henford, so it's kind of like inland, and they're like, "Let's go to the beach," and it's like overcast and it's like cold, and they're like, "We can go home," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. Like I know you're only here for the day, but like this is what you get." And then
that happens so much with
so
people
often.
I know that are from like further inside.
Mm-hmm. They're cousins I enjoy too, and we're always like, you should come down. Like we tell them like it's like a 3-hour drive to Hanford. Like you should come down. And they're like, no, like you guys should come up here. Like we have nicer weather, and it's like 100 degrees there. It's like living in an armpit. And it's like, what are you talking? It's like, well, we have sun, and I'm like, and like like we do too. We just have clouds in front of it sometimes, and that's fine. Like put on a hoodie and don't complain about it.
Yeah, we have sun, but sometimes it just takes a little bit for it to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets, I mean, I don't know. When I was I was essentially like 2 hours inland, and it was about an hour and a half to the beach. And that beach sucked. And I don't know why people love going to the beach. I mean, like, we're on a beach tangent, but like, if you're going to go to the beach to like really swim, to like surf, build a sandcastle.
To do things you can only do at the beach.
Yeah.
I get it. That's again, like when people are like, let's go to the beach, I'm like, what are we going to do? Like, we're going to hang out on the towel. And I'm like, we can hang out inside with the fucking air conditioner. Like, I'm such like a loser nerd. I'm like, we can just do that here. And you know what? I brought some D&D dice. So like, let's hang. Like I'm just like forcing my agenda on them. But then we go, and I'm always like enjoying it. I'm always enjoying it, my time.
But if there's anything you take from us here, as 3 people who grew up on the coast, go build a sandcastle.
Go build a sandcastle.
Don't just stand around with your feet in the water.
Don't just stand in the water. I think this is a perfect segue to our topic today.
Yeah, sure. Well, we had our people are disgusting, or people
are gross.
Yeah, people are disgusting.
People are gross.
People are gross.
And that is a perfect title for this episode.
Yeah. I'm wearing my shirt.
Oh fuck! That's that shirt.
That's that shirt. Can't we all be friends?
Describe it for the people.
If you're familiar with the movie we're about to talk about, or the manga, you know that there's the sign language for the. Okay, as somebody who knows ASL, that like universal, or are they talking?
Each ASL is different for sure, but there were similar signs.
Are they talking JSL?
It's JSL.
They are speaking JSL for sure.
Okay,
yeah,
because I was like trying to. I have a rudimentary knowledge of ASL, and I think that is friends. I could totally be wrong. I'm just gonna Google it because I have the world's greatest tool, the internet, at my disposal.
Well, in any case, my shirt is I don't know if it's a direct screen grab or anything, but it's Shoko Nishimiya telling you, let's be friends.
Completely different signs. Completely different signs. So friends in ASL is getting your two index fingers and then interlocking them with your right hand facing you and your left hand facing away, and then reversing that and making that's best I can get. I'm sure you can use any hand you want.
We're all doing that right now. You should do it too.
I did want to preface this in saying, like, I'm happy to see you guys. Like, it's been 2 weeks, and I am kind of enjoying this process of, like, I go and hang out with friends on Sunday, and that's very nice for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason I wanted to do this.
Yeah, for sure. So. Glad that all our other friends are joining in on this podcast as well.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
they're so ecstatic that they can't hardly wait.
Can't hardly wait.
As an aside, I've listened to that song by The Replacement like 20 times in the past 3 days. So.
Oh god.
But that's so a intense. Huge aside that I will not bring up.
Our goal is to make it reference that song. This movie reference that song somehow.
Well, we will at least get to reference some Who. At least very briefly.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Before we do that, though, let's see. Where should the shirt. We started with the shirt has a sign for friends. The shirt is Shoko Nishimiya from the movie saying "Let's be friends," both as a child and as a teenager, and in hiragana, I'm pretty sure. Me and you, can we be friends, or something of that sort. So I'm a pretty darn big fan of this. The main reason I chose it is because the anime studio that did it is Kyoto Animation. Kyoto Animation is hands down my favorite anime studio, but unfortunately a lot of their works are either full anime, and I don't want to make you guys commit to watching 12 episodes of something so we can talk about it.
Thank you for understanding my personality.
Or movies that are related to an anime that you kind of need context for. Mm-hmm. They also do recap movies, so maybe at some point I might make you watch one of those just so I can talk, just so I have a platform to talk about stuff. But so yeah, Kyoto Animation, love them. They are my absolute favorites when it comes to anime. Also, it is directed by my. I'll say absolute favorite. There's one other contender, but my favorite anime director is Naoko Yamada. All her works are 100% stuff you need context for. So I didn't want to have to make you guys watch what wait, let me do the math real quick in my head. I think it's about 40 episodes of K-On! Or 24
She made
episodes.
K-On! Too?
Yes.
Oh my god, this makes so much sense now.
Or 24 episodes of Sound Euphonium to watch her other movie, which I wish I could have you guys watch without the context, but I would feel bad.
We'll do a long-term goal.
We could do like us every time you come around. No, whatever. We'll keep going.
I have a way to get to it. I just need to like do a little bit of investigation because there's 2 recap movies to both seasons of that anime, and I need to watch those to see if it gets the general gist around, because I love the other movie she did.
I love the idea of it being like, yeah, this recap movie did not recap enough. Like, it doesn't, this is not good enough.
I mean, it
totally makes sense. Like, how can you know?
You that'll be a part of my later discussion about this movie and as it compares to the manga, the source material, but yeah, it's very hard to capture everything in a movie. So yeah, it's done by my favorite studio, it's done by my favorite director. My other favorite director, I'm pretty sure we've all seen something by him, is Masaki Yuasa.
Misaki.
Oh yeah.
Yuasa. Yeah. He did Ping Pong, Mind Game, everything. But that's an aside. It also has...
We should do a Ping Pong episode.
I still need to finish Ping Pong.
Really?
I've never finished Ping Pong. I got like 6 episodes.
Okay, we might need to do a Ping Pong.
If you finish it, we'll do an episode.
We should do Ping Pong. Dude, he did an episode of Adventure Time.
Yeah, he does a lot of like guests.
Oh, he did. I still need to finish Space Dandy. All right, I'll shut up. I'm closing because like I'm terrible at finishing things. Is when it comes to watching stuff, I'm terrible at finishing.
Along the Ping Pong train, it's also scored by my favorite scorer in anime, Kensuke Ushio, who I just found out is doing the score for Chainsaw Man, the anime, so I'm so excited about that.
Oh, it's so good. I'm so fucking hyped. Mappa, I think I'm just excited for Mappa stuff, dude. They're so good. It's gonna be so fucking rad.
So
yeah,
it's like a pretty damn all-star Chainsaw Man is supposed to be a pretty damn all-star cast, but this movie, A Silent Voice, is basically my dream roster of people working on it. And I also, after the fact of watching the movie initially, have read the manga, and I love the manga also, so it's just like all around just everything I love about anime and stuff like that, just into one movie. So that's mainly why I wanted to talk about this specifically, is that it has a lot, even like opinions on story content aside, it has a lot that I love about it. So
I think it is a very well put together film. There's no denying that. There's so much to like really appreciate. I'm so terrible when it comes to music, and I was listening to it. I'm like, this is fucking gorgeous. I'm feeling things right now.
Okay. I need to find a route to get us to watch Liz and the Bluebird, because the soundtrack in that movie is incredible. Like, they went to the school location that it's based off of and recorded did field recordings to record some of the music.
So
like it's so good. I love Kensuke Ushio so much.
Yeah, that's some commitment right there for sure.
I love when artists it's
good stuff,
like directors and stuff, get to like really do weird shit. Like don't they have credibility? They're like, we're gonna need to go to the actual school to record it, and they're like, why? And they're like, listen, I'm gonna make you so much fucking money if you just shut up and listen to me. I don't remember who it was. It's kind of tangentially related. It was like some music artist. They recorded their album in like this weird, like it was like a home with like a very high ceiling, like a hall with a high ceiling. So it echoed in a very like unique way. And it was just like, why? Like, why is that? Like, it's so weird. Once people have like credibility, they're just like, let me experiment. It's gonna be cool. And people are like, okay, fine.
We'll have an episode on that sort of stuff eventually. I promise you.
All right. So I've done my initial gush over why I love this, or why I had you guys watch it. What do you guys think about it?
Manny, you go first.
So I have a penchant for sad films. I'm very much interested in films that can force me to feel things that sometimes I don't want to feel. And I think that this film achieved that while also not pushing the boundaries in a way that felt ingenuine. It didn't feel like it was trying to make you sad. It felt like it was an honest, like a very, very honest, forward representation of what childhood bullying's like, what what disability is like, and a lot of things related to mental health and mental illness. And the thing that I think they captured so beautifully was the combination of innocence, especially for those ages, right? Really young, 6th grade, right? And then also in high school, and the transition through, Ishida's life, and how his relationship with Nishimiya, really, just how human nature plays into like our social landscape. And I thought that was like very beautifully done. It was very melancholic, and that's something I've noticed through some of like KyoAni's stuff, Kyoto Animation, is that there can be a profound melancholy to certain things, and I really like that. Yeah. So overall, I mean, that's my like little reductive thing. Overall, I thought the movie was great. There were the scenes in which I teared up in / cried in were not the ones I thought I was going to. And I think that because of what I experienced there, it just shows how well put together the movie was. Just like the skill at being able to plant like a flashback at exactly the right moment to just like gut punch you. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't have to get into the scene, but like there was a flashback with Ishida where, he's going through some stuff, and then suddenly you see a flashback to when he was a kid, and it's like, oh, like that sort of that initial gut punch. Those types of things I really enjoy. And the score, I have like 5 times in my notes that the score was fucking beautiful.
It's so good.
It was so well put together. Yeah, it was so well put together. Really good timing with everything, with the score, the way that the music was written, and the orchestration for it. It was all just like, it was great. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I wish I have like opinions on certain things that I would prefer to see in the movie, but overall, it's like a beautiful story and a beautiful execution, I think.
I really hated feeling how I felt when I watched this movie. I am the opposite. I don't like feeling sad. I don't like need more sadness in my life. I that's how I kind of approach certain things. I want to feel like inspired and like awe-stricken. So the first I watched it very differently, I think, from you guys, because I watched the dub, and it's terrible in a way of like the nuances are changed. I don't know the characters' names.
Okay.
I'm terrible at that, because the weird thing I hate that they do is where it's like they say Shoko instead of her last name.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't know why they do that.
I also watched the dub, and just to kind of bridge the gap between you two, in the dub, they go by everybody's first names, so it's gonna be a little confusing on names.
I'm going by descriptors. I just go by descriptors. I don't remember their names.
And
That's fair.
but everything else seemed about right. The sound design can change based on the dub sometimes, but from what I could tell, it was very similar, if not the same, like ambient noise in the background. So
Okay. So after
Yeah, that's good.
after watching
I appreciate
the dub,
that.
it was like midnight, and I was just like, I'm gonna watch like 30 minutes, and I'm gonna call it, because it's very hard for me to just sit and watch movies by myself. I can't do that. I don't know what it is. So I watched like 7 minutes, and it just made me feel so upset. I was so angry. I was just angry for the majority of this movie. The majority of this movie, I am upset at someone doing something on the screen. It is never Shoko, and it is almost never the main character. Just about everyone else and how they react to them upset me. This is how it was. I think it's very important to watch this movie for some people. I think this is super honest, like you were saying, Manny, about how bullying works, how people react to bullying, about how people react to being a bully. I have like tons of note about that. I'm real excited to talk about that one. I think it's important for disabilities.
Yeah.
I had a sister who was deaf. She passed away, but like seeing them throw the hearing aids away, I was like, these children should all die. Like I was like, there is no. I even wrote in my notes like, how do I write this without maybe getting the FBI called on me for what I want to say? And the way I took notes was I basically just live tweeted. I basically just like, as things were happening, I wrote how I was feeling. And it's just kind of like me talking. There's a lot of just like, oh no, like, and then there's a lot of like, oh, this bitch, like just writing this bitch, and hopefully that'll be enough context to help it out. But I think it's well put together. It's super pretty. It has a lot of characters I really do enjoy. The little sister is the best character.
She's the best character so much.
She is the best. The second best character is the niece, what's the main character's niece? Maria. She's the second best character. She is adorable. It's amazing. I love her so much. So those were like, I was rooting for those people of like, they hadn't done anything wrong. And I was totally rooting against most of like the recurring cast, and just again, I felt a lot of anger because I was like, I wanted people to talk, and then they do that thing where like they just kind of don't, and then of course it's these people don't know, they don't have experiences, and like I think a lot of it came from like, I know I've been in this situation before, and I know now how I want to handle myself. I'm not saying it's the right way, but I know how to leave a situation socially and not feel upset, where I'm like, I'll tell someone like, hey, no, the other week, this last week, on a Discord server, we were joking around, and a joke just hit me the wrong way, and I was not enjoying it, and I messaged them directly, and I was like, I'm not upset at you, I'm not mad at you in any way, but I would want you to know, I would want to know if I ever pushed someone too far, and I think you pushed me too far, and it might not be you, it might be my mood, and like that took a lot of years of developing emotionally and like learning how I am as a person. And I'm just mad these teenagers haven't done exactly what I have. So it's like kind of unwarranted anger of these poor people. And cathartic, like seeing people, and like some of the people grow up and progress and some of the people don't. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I watched the movie. I will never watch it again. I'm watching it once. I don't think I'll read the manga. I don't think I can go through it again. There is a beautiful animated scene of two children fighting. I was like, I wrote that down. I'm like, man, this is, I don't know. Like, it was just like, I have a lot to talk about. But there was like the scene where Shoko and then the blue-eyed black hair bitch, what's her name?
Oh,
Ueno?
Yeah,
There's
Ueno.
They're like fighting each other, and I'm like, this is better than some Naruto fights. This is better than like there's a lot of anger, like you feel it, and you're just like, man, can the camera pull away, please? Like, can we please cut to something else? I don't want to watch this anymore. It hurts too much. So that's why
you're gonna reference the fight they have as kids at Ishida's desk. That one's also very.
That one was good. That one was good, but
Oh,
the first time I
two.
noticed it, was okay. Here's a question. All honesty, in your entire school career, how many fights have you been in?
0.
I think 0. Yeah.
These kids are fighting more than all of us combined. Yeah, what?
I had someone challenge me because we were both two of the biggest kids in school, in elementary school, and he was like, "Oh, I'm bigger than you," and he was, but he wanted to like fight over our fat, so I never showed up because I was 5 or 6. Or
I was 5. In high school, I was talking smack with this guy, and he said something about like, we were talking about fights, and I was just like making fun of him for wanting to fight. He goes, "You ever been in a fight? I'll pop your cherry, boy." And I was just like, this is very weird. I kind of like literally just like, I'm done talking to you. And like he like kind of cooled down, but he was like, "Let's go in the bathroom," and I'm like, what? Like, what's happening? I don't know what to do in this situation. So how are we doing this? How do you want to go about this? Because as I've said, I have a lot of thoughts about certain characters and what they've done in this fucking movie.
Yeah,
would it be cool to walk it through? What if we walk through
like the entire movie?
Is that too weird?
I thought I
don't know, because I have stuff to say about every scene.
I thought about doing that.
Yeah, I have stuff to say for every scene.
That's why I was like, this is gonna be like a 4-hour recording.
Sure. I mean, we can figure out as it goes, but let me just run down some additional background information on the movie just to get everybody started. If anybody ever actually does listen to this and hasn't seen the movie for whatever reason. So, okay. Silent Voice is based off a manga written by Yoshitoki Oeima. She's very young in her manga career because her only real serialized manga are Silent Voice and an anime that's aired last season. Actually, it's almost a new season, called For Your Eternity. Both
I've heard of that.
Pretty highly praised, so she's kind of hit gold in notoriety for being such a young manga artist. The anime was announced in 2014, in November 2014, and then a month later they announced it was going to be a movie. A year after that, they announced it's going to be done by Kyoto Animation and directed by Naoka Yamada. And
I wonder how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of seems to be that way with a lot of anime where
like,
I've seen it.
It's like they have an agent and they go, we're going to be looking for people to make this movie for us.
Based on how long the production schedule lasts, I have to imagine that they give it to the studio and they probably wait just in case they have to say like, no, we can't do it. Like our schedule's too booked or whatever, or we just can't work with this like we thought we could. I don't really know how it happens, but as somebody who's just recently gotten into manga, I have noticed that it's pretty common for the manga I've seen that get adapted where they'll announce we got an anime coming, and then maybe a month or several months down the line they'll announce, here is the promotional video, here's the staff, here's the studio, whatever.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, it just kind of seems to be the way it goes. I already kind of covered why I love Naoko Yamada, but she's done K-On!, Tamako Market, basically all my favorite Kyoto shows. Side note, Tamako Market is super underrated. And you mentioned Kyoto Animation is very deep into melancholic things. Like, I think you are fully right with that, in that there's a lot of melancholic undertones, and that a lot of their work has to do with focusing on slice of life and the everyday life. So
the everyday tragedies we face.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of very relatable content in their shows, and a lot of times it's really under the guise of just comedy and stuff like that. So a lot of their shows kind of follow the formula where it's a really kind of goofy protagonist, and their supporting cast are as goofy as the protagonist is, and they really just kind of feed off each other and have fun. And then as the show progresses, you realize that, oh, there's kind of a reason these people are goofy. It's because they have something underlying that has happened where, like, that has kind of caused them to really look for connection in other people. So you one thing I'm thinking of straight offhand when you mentioned that was Junibyo and Other Delusions. That's a really good, or the first season is really amazing at doing that. Yeah, so I love Kyoto Animation, and I can basically, this movie was, A Silent Voice was released in Japan September 17, 2016. It was released worldwide in 2017, and thanks to the power of Discord, I was able to find out why I watched this movie in the first place. Because I found out, or going through the archives, I found out I had watched K-On! And Kobayashi's Dragon Maid sometime in 2017. I had thought, oh wow, I love Kyoto Animation, and apparently they're releasing this new movie in October, so it came out a full year ahead in Japan than it did here in the States, like world release. Apparently they showed it at Anime Expo that year, so Manny could have had a chance to see it because he went to that Anime Expo.
Yeah, guess there was, side note, there was Your Name, I think. I don't know if the years line up. There was that, and then there was Welcome to the Ballroom, which is a dancing anime / manga series, and we went to that one, so we sort of missed it a little bit. But.
Yeah, 2017 was a really big year for movies because it had this, Your Name, and another movie I'm sure I'm gonna recommend in the near future called In This Corner of the World. That's a good one. That's an amazing movie.
I haven't seen it, but
I'm so ignorant on these movies.
But yeah, the reception to the movie was basically, in the niche anime community, it's pretty huge. Like, if you're into anime, you've probably heard of this movie, if not seen it.
Yes.
So it kind of hits the midpoint of all those big movies that came out in 2017. Obviously, Your Name kind of was that breakout, transcending anime hit.
The big one where people who didn't even know anime too much were like, oh, I've heard of it. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah, like... People who have seen like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z have probably seen Your Name. Like,
while we're on the topic of Your Name, there's a really great quote by Makoto Kansai, I think is his name is, the director or slash creator of.
I think it's Makoto Shinkai.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, Makoto Shinkai. I'm reading this from Wikipedia. I don't know the source, don't quote me. But he was quoted saying that it's a fantastic piece of work and a polished and grand production, which he is unable to replicate. So
I think I saw that quote.
What a semi-masturbatory statement. Like
it is.
That's so like it's weird. That's a weird thing to say.
Oh, it's towards a silent voice. That quote was about a silent voice.
No, but like him going like, I can't even make something this good. It's just like, okay, like why are you mentioning this?
But his movies are very known for being well polished, and I will reserve my opinions about Your Name because I could talk about how mid that movie is for hours, but I digress.
I do love a hot understatement.
We're talking about a silent voice, and that's one of my favorites. So
in the dub, the title card is The Shape of Voice.
It's the same in the sub.
That's also what it is in Netflix.
Okay, then what the hell?
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to reason.
We all watched it on Netflix.
Is.
Maybe it's a Netflix thing.
No, I didn't watch it on Netflix.
All of my answers are bad.
The opening card says The Shape of Voice, and then when the opening credits are rolling, it says A Silent Voice.
And then the ending card is The Shape of Voice.
Yeah, so I think The Shape of Voice might be the Japanese way of saying it because that was baked into the movie. I think that might be what the KyoAni's translation of it was. Yeah, it's baked in. I don't know why there's a difference or what the miscommunication is there, but I couldn't find any genuine significance between the two. It's something that, because I think, let me grab the record.
He's getting the record for Silent Voice. You were such a dweeb.
Well, so
you were such a dweeb.
My understanding is it's a translation error or translation nuance that we have a silent voice because it sounds better. But
yeah, because it says here a silent voice, and then the title of the soundtrack is A Shape of Light. So I think they also mentioned that somewhere in the opening credits. There's a lot of just random things that I don't know why they're there.
It has to be what Manny's saying, where it's a translation nuance.
Yeah, it is very poetic. I mean, I think a silent voice is like very poetic for English speakers, but I mean, the shape of voice it sounds weird. But like if you think about it, it's like extremely poetic and sort of philosophical, without getting on my philosophy kick. But yeah. So I think it's cool, but I was weirded out about it.
I like a silent voice better. I think it just
I do too.
It's smoother.
Yeah, I mean, the shape of voice kind of sounds like the way a Japanese person would speak English, if that makes sense.
Wow, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like I think it is just a translation thing.
Little hiccup.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically most of my background. I can get into personal background.
I have a little. I looked this up in the middle. Until 1948. Deaf children were not required to attend school or to receive a formal education in Japan. I thought that was an interesting.
48, you said?
1948.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
I just, like it's so different from our time, et cetera, but
some cultural context I forgot to include to this movie, and I kind of wanted to do it before, but if you're familiar with Japanese culture, you know that bullying is a huge problem in Japan.
Really?
Yes, it's massive. You know, if you've heard of what the Kikimori phenomenon, I'll call it,
I don't know what that is.
The Kikimori is something that's, I mean, the Japanese are the people who came up with the word and definition of it, but it's basically somebody who will not leave their room or want to see other people and basically isolate themselves entirely, very rarely leaving their room for things like food if they live by themselves. But certain hikikomori are basically just live at home, and some, depending on person to person and their situation, some are just very docile and kind of hide away in their rooms. Some get aggressive with their parents, like yelling at them like, bring me food and stuff like that. Like, so as a part of my thesis research for my last year of college, I basically read the book that brought that to the public's attention. And a lot of it says it's a phenomenon that's related to the high rates of bullying in Japan. So, like, these kids are bullied so hard that bullying takes such a toll on them, because a lot of anime's depiction of bullying, as opposed to American side, is very social and like exclusionary. There isn't, I mean, there is and isn't a lot of depiction of physical bullying. That's usually, I mean, in American culture, it's usually entirely physical. And I mean, some movies
Mean
now
Girls
are kind
and
of getting
stuff does other stuff, but like
more recent movies are getting kind of hip to the more exclusionary and just picking on practices. But it's a really big problem in Japan, and kind of has, I mean, if you watch a lot of anime, you're bound to run into somebody being bullied, and that's the cultural context why.
I mean, also mental health and mental illness is heavily stigmatized in Japan. It's really hard to seek help for that. So
I didn't know that.
So it's sort of a double-edged sword there. And I think this movie does an interesting job there.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why this movie was, or I want to say that's why this young mangaka, that it was her first serialized manga, could get something like so quickly done about it, was because it was
about a real subject that people aren't really talking about.
It was addressing a very real subject through a guise of, or through the lens of juggling multiple subjects that should be covered. Yeah, so that's the main cultural context. I'm not sure, do you guys just want to jump straight into the movie?
Let's just go into it. We have 2 hours of movie to go through.
Do you want me to pull up the movie?
Maybe what we can do is just start, if you can pull up a list of scenes, we could go that way. We could also literally just Yeah, I think
I don't
let's start
have
off with the opening.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of credits. Okay, so just and if you haven't seen this movie and you're listening to this, now's the point where if we haven't sold you on it, you should probably just stop listening.
We're gonna talk about
or
this
go
entire
watch
movie.
it. We're basically gonna
Go watch it and come back.
yeah.
You can pause right here.
Okay.
And now we're back.
Yeah. So
the opening scene is pretty kids walking and
okay, let's not go this deep.
No. I'm going. Don't worry about it. The kid's walking in like when he quits his job is to me when it is kind of like okay, like something's going on. I didn't pick up on exactly what was happening until he put down the money and he was crossing out the dates. I was like, oh, I literally have my notes. This dude is about to seppuku. Like, this guy is not going to make it. I was like, if this is it and the movie just ends here, like, bananas.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first watched it, I understood what was happening, but when he's specifically standing on the bridge, I don't think I understood, like, oh, he's going to kill himself now.
To me, it was paying off his debt. And, like, the mom talks about later of, like, you did all these things, like, you finished up and you were being nice and trying to be as, like you cleaned your room. That's weird. Like, you don't do that. Like, it makes sense. Manny, how did you feel about the opening before we go further?
Yeah, no, I thought that this in particular, I picked up on it, but I think the things, it really took everything for me to realize it, and then the bridge scene solidified it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's a really strong punch to come out on, right? It's like,
yeah,
it just hits real hard, real quick, and I think it really sets the mood nicely, because the scenes are so beautiful. Like this scene that we're stilled on is a scene with Shoya walking through Ishida walking on this bridge with sakura trees around sakura, and it's
from Naruto.
It's like beautiful. Yeah, exactly. The tree lady from Naruto.
The tree lady.
So it's a beautiful scene, and like every scene is beautiful in this opening sort of sequence.
Mm-hmm.
The first when he paid the money, or when he gave his mother the envelope with the money in it, I don't remember if he says that it's his mom, so I thought it was his a lover or something. I didn't know the age, right? So I sort of thought it might be that.
I didn't connect to mom, but that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I thought it might lead into relationship problems, like because a lot of these types of anime can venture into slice of life relationship problems as it relates to romance, right? But that's something that is actually, it's there, but it's not by any means the focal point of this film, which I was really happy about, because I get a lot of those like sort of Kids on the Slope-esque, or like I'm sure there are a few that I'm missing, but Kids on the Slope is the one I remember, where it's like young people falling in love but not knowing how to express it, and then realizing everything's okay. And I liked how this didn't go there. Really.
That's also very much what I love about Kyoto Animation, is that they are extremely subtle with their romance plot points. And that it just, I reread the manga. I've probably watched the movie like 10 times in my life, and then read the manga like 5 times, so I'm pretty well versed in both of them. But the way that they handle
such clearly different takes from me and Andres as usual.
But the way they handle romance in the manga, it's a little bit more apparent, but it's also very the manga for the most part is through Shoya Shida, so he's very just kind of dense for a reason though, because of everything that happens in the movie. He's very just like not sure how to deal with other people's emotions and things like that.
He was socially stunted.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any more we want to say about this part? I have something I have like a next step to go on to.
Sure. Go
no, I think
so. The part to me, the day after a suicide attempt must be one of the most fucked up days, like to deal with, right? Like your whole plan's gone, like this whole thing. That to me was like I never really like you. It's one of the things you don't really think about for some. Like it's not your
The thing is that I'm not sure if they very clearly state is that he never attempts to kill himself. He's just full on prepared to do it.
He gets to the point where he's at the bridge and he's planned out his suicide, but he does not get to the part where he's about to jump. But he does get to the part before that. So to me, that would be it could very easily be seen as like, no, I'm just walking. Like, you know, he visualizes it, and that must be something.
He visualizes it, but I mean the implication that the movie shows him on the railing, but based on how it's like shown with the other scenes of him on the bridge, it's him visualizing it. He doesn't actually do it. His full intention is to see Shoko before he like full commits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if that fully gets across, because a lot of what I love about the movie is that it doesn't really spell out a lot of subtle details for you. You get the point across of the movie fine, even if you're not paying, like, not dissecting every frame, but there's just certain details like that.
I thought the transition into the flashbacks here are so crucial for setting the tone of like what this ends up becoming, because it's such a vulnerable state at the beginning, because you sort of see the intention of suicide, and then you see like this childlike innocence with the title card come up, and it's like, oh, like,
and the direct
like,
parallel of him jumping into the water as a kid is like,
there's a lot of like jumping over ledges in this film.
I didn't even notice her in the intro.
Did you notice this in the intro?
No, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice this at all.
So good.
So Shoko is in the hair salon.
Yes. But one thing to explain about the opening montage is that it's basically summing up the entire first 2 chapters of the manga in like a minute or so, however long my generation is. I guess it's 2 minutes. But and I was so caught off guard when they started playing My Generation the first time.
I was like, whoa.
I was too. This is so uncommon.
As a young lad in middle school who had a pretty deep Who phase, I was like so excited when they did that. But basically what the opening montage doesn't really tell you, but does tell you, is that in the manga, the relationship of the 3 boys, the 3 friend boys, is actually kind of dissolving before anything actually goes down with them. Like,
oh, okay.
Like they're all getting ready to go to middle school. I always forget their names, but the blonde one overtly says, "I need to go to cram school" or whatever. So I don't think I can hang out with you guys anymore after school. And the kid with the mullet is just kind of, Shoya is still all about like the little kid stuff, like jumping off the bridge. It's implied that that's entirely his idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid with the mullet at one point tells him like, yeah, I don't really want to do this stuff anymore. And he's like, oh,
interesting.
But it's all about like Shoya kind of still being able to convince them to do it with him, like just by, and you can kind of see it subtly here where they're actually friends, Shoya and the kid with the mullet. The blonde haired kid, yeah, he just like they just shake their hands real quick.
They don't have as an intricate handshake as they do with the other one.
Yeah.
I wrote in my notes, there's Sebastian, Eva reference in video game or something. I don't know, aliens. That I pandered to Evangelion like twice in these notes. There it is.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
I have no more notes until a notebook shows up. But like, it is interesting seeing it again and seeing like, oh, there's this person.
I'm pretty sad that it's lost, that you lose the dissolving friendship, because that seems very crucial for getting the point across later when we'll talk about, but later when Shoya loses or is bullied, like explicitly bullied.
Yeah.
That's like the point. It's lost there. This teacher pissed me off. Like,
I love it.
Sort of complacency.
Okay.
The complacency pissed me off until he was no longer complacent.
There are two people that I absolutely hate and despise with all my heart in this, mainly due to the manga, but also from the movie because they're basically the same character in the movie. Mm-hmm. It's the teacher. I hate the teacher, and to a smaller extent, but I still hate her, is Kawai, Miki Kawai.
Which is that one?
She's the blonde chick with the glasses.
God. Oh,
we'll get to her. She's terrible. The teacher, I in the moment when later on in the film when they call him out for bullying, and he does like get upset and is like, I was like, yeah, this is right. But now looking back and like you guys saying that, I'm like, no, there is a part where it's like he should have been stepping in. He could have done this. He also like sees them doing it. Like he doesn't go like, I know Shoyu is right. Wasn't Shoyu is how they say soy sauce when I was in Hawaii. So that's in my head over and over again. I apologize. So Shoya, him getting called out, I was like, good, like call out the kid, but I was also like, what about everyone else? Like, anyway.
Yeah, what you don't get from just one viewing of this is that, or maybe you do, but I don't think I did, because I think I had a very similar reaction where I could tell that the teacher wasn't really a good person, but I didn't really have that strong of opinion the first time I saw it. But when you watch it again, you realize that he's just kind of using Shoya as his scapegoat for like not stepping in or not handling things. Because I mean, I don't know how much you guys have to say about specific things between now and later, but in the movie, but there's points where he's laughing at what Shoya's doing. Like, he's severely entertained by it. And
wow. No, this is terrible.
I don't remember that.
I wrote here I'm already about to cry from this notebook. Like the notebook, I was already like, oh, this is so cute and sad. Like it was like this part. He like says like, introduce yourself. And then he has to like tap her shoulder. It's not like, and this is me speaking as a person who had a deaf sibling, and she had hearing aids like very soon. But I went to ASL classes. I really tried to like immerse myself in the deaf community for a good little bit, and I'd love to try doing it again. But there's a part where like you don't like. I felt like the tap was too rough. You really do just kind of like put your hand on people, and that's enough. You don't tap. You just like they would say like if you have to get past someone and they're signing, you just kind of like gently push them. Then they understand that they're in the conversation. And him saying like him not helping this along. And had them like not having that teacher immediately there to be like, she is deaf. She needs to help you, blah, blah, blah. There's a part where he visions the aliens. And I was reading some reviews and someone was like, if you look at it, he views her as different and therefore she's an enemy. And that's how like his child brain contextualizes things. And I was like, that's kind of crazy to like make a jump like that. But I told it's there, so it has to be something.
And it was exciting, right? Like even his character animation in that moment, like electrified, like hair and body language. So it's like sort of this like new exciting thing. And he clarifies it a tiny bit later, but I don't know how clearly it is clarified ultimately.
One interesting thing I noticed between the dub and the sub, and it actually kind of harkens back to the manga versus the movie. In the sub, there's kind of an undertone where he's just really teasing Shoko at first. Like, you could kind of mistake it for like that I have a crush on you teasing a little bit.
Yeah.
But the dub he's a lot more aggressive in the dub.
That's kind of, again, like I was angry because he's aggressive for like no reason.
Yeah,
there's no reason besides she's different.
When when she starts getting ignored by the girls and he tells her something in the dub, he says something like, we all hate you or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or something like mean.
Damn,
but
that's
in
intense.
in the sub, it's like, you have to watch out because everybody's gonna like start hating you if you keep doing this.
Yeah,
like
there's such animosity from the beginning,
and it's kind of the same in the manga. He's a little more there is more animosity in the manga where you can tell that he's just kind of picking on her and not like teasing her.
I wrote, there's a part where she's talking and she says she's deaf and they're all whispering. And I wrote, the whispers fuck me up, especially because she can't hear them. We're the only people receiving the whispers and like the unsettled, like the unknowing and like kind of like them judging her. She has no idea. And then I also wrote, these voices are too white. Like they're very white.
No, yeah, but I hated the opening part of the dub. I almost stopped watching it because of that.
Manny, any thoughts? I have tons of. I have like a lot of notes in this beginning part. This beginning part, I go
off. No, yeah, this entire intro section. So right now we're at the music scene where she starts singing a little bit early by herself, because obviously she can't hear the
she
music,
she just doesn't know,
well.
so she's trying.
Yeah, and I think this entire intro scene, again, like I said, it captures like the childlike innocence really, really well. But you don't really get the bullying. It comes up in a little, but like initially everyone's pretty helpful. And this scene right here, where I think it's Ueno and Kawai, right? They're talking. Mm-hmm. They start slowly, getting to the point where Shoko is being alienated from groups and things like that. And I think that this like first section that we just talked about was so pivotal for like setting the tone of the sort of like sensitive childlike situation. I don't know, because I needed that
I
for
also
me.
wrote the same thing. I wrote the same thing of like them helping is very nice, but like it quickly shuts off. Also, this dude. First of all, the girl reads and he goes like, "You call that reading? Never mind. Like, move on." So he's already kind of being mean to her. And this part, I thought he was laughing at her.
He is.
He covers his mouth.
He is. He's trying to compose himself.
It's supposed to be
like
that way. In sheer like, just embarrassed. I just like just secondhand embarrassment almost, and that's like not a fair thing to say for like a deaf person to hear, honestly. But like, it was like more like these people are already mad at her for nothing that is hurtful. And then this part pissed me off. I wrote, "These kids suck." Like, I wanna, what the absolute fuck, Shoyo God, kids are evil is my actual notes. I was so upset. I wrote at one point, I was scared to have kids. Like, if I have a shitty kid, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah. Shoya, initially when Shoya started reading, I thought he was like making fun of like the sort of way that deaf people will sometimes speak. But it came off like that initially, but then afterwards it was actually, I sort of interpreted it as him sort of just not wanting to speak and not wanting to read.
Oh, I thought he was making fun of her 100%.
Well, he is, but I'm sure there's part of that. I mean, basically what I noticed this time, like actively taking notes, is that Shoya's picking up on how the girls are starting to really like not include Shoko in anything, and how they're talking bad about her. And he just kind of wants to be that class clown, like, oh, I have someone to pick on and make these people laugh. Like,
yep, it's exactly like you were saying. It started off as teasing a little bit, but then it's kind of like fueled.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. That's what makes. I mean, as someone who's watched this movie a lot, the opening part doesn't really get easier to watch. Like every time I watch it, I almost kind of want to skip the first 30 minutes because it's like, yeah, I know what happens, and this is like really sad.
I don't know. There is a part I did write where I can later when Ueno or whatever, what's her name? She's upset. Like it is. She's like, I have to kind of do all this work, and it is making me suffer. And it's like that is kind of upsetting, you know. I can see that as you're like, why am I not getting? I shouldn't have to take care of this student. Like I'm just a kid, and that makes sense. But like, I also like understand. Like then at that point, like, hey, maybe talk to the teacher. But granted, your teacher's shitty. But maybe like, hey, can like during this period, I'll help her and take notes. And during that period, can you like, I would like to believe it's like you make some kind of system. It's also she wanted 3 minutes of sign language, and then fucking Umeno bitches about it and is like, I don't want to do that. Like this part pissed me off.
Yeah, but I mean, I think what this first part really captures is a lot of mismanagement from the adults.
Yeah,
because I mean, the only one that really does it right is Shoya's mom. Like,
yeah,
he fully regrets what he does by the end, and I mean, definitely being shunned by his classmates help, but he like sees what happens to his mom, and he's ashamed that she has to pay for the hearing aids, and obviously holds that even as a teenager. Like
we paid for my sister's hearing aid, I think like $1,000 for all of it, and insurance covered it, and that's when I kind of was like, whoa, 8 hearing aids in a month. Insurance will cover the first one. Maybe they cover the second one. But the other 6 come out of pocket. And then, like, it's still a lot. I don't know. It's a lot. Like, that's so much, like, to deal with.
But what they don't really get on in the anime is there's a lot more from Shoko's mother, and her entire thing about wanting her to be in a normal elementary school is because she was left by her husband because Shoko is deaf, and him and his family were just kind of saying things like, this is your fault, like you're the reason why, when they explain in the manga that apparently she just got a viral thing and she came out deaf, so it really wasn't her fault. But she's very adamant about giving Shoko like a normal life, just like as a way to stick it to her husband and be like, yeah, she's normal, she's strong, she can do everything by herself in society.
Yeah, and it's independence is an important thing. There's a part where they're walking in the hallway and then Umeno and Kawai are talking, and Umeno says, I can't believe she dresses like that. Like, did she dress herself this morning? And then
that's Sahara.
Kawai says, like, oh my god, I can't believe you said that. And I wrote, that's exactly what people say when they say they never bully someone. They're not enabling actively, but they're passively letting things happen. And I was like, this is the worst character in this movie. Like, she never is the bad guy. And then, like, I have so much to say about later on parts, but like when she cries and is like, I could never be mean. It's like so sheltered and like full of like self-love of like, I'm not a bad person. I can't be a bad person. It's impossible for me to be a bad person. So I wouldn't do that. And I just was like, I hate this person. I'm glad you guys hate her too.
It's even worse in the manga, I'll say.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And first time we see this scene, I didn't get it either. I was like, did he just get bullied by them, or did he voluntarily jump in there to find the notebook and like the situation? And then it gets revealed a little bit later.
Basically, the scene they're describing is after they throw Shoko's notebook in the pond and she goes to fish it out, and then it cuts to Shoya in the pond with the book on his head. Yes, they did throw him in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the way that KyoAni sort of does the sort of situation parallels between everything in this film. There's a lot of jumping off bridges. There's a lot of like Shoya going through the same thing that Shoko is. A lot of similarities. I really love that about the way that this was created.
I wrote, I would like to believe I would report the bullying if it got this far, like if I was a kid. And then I wrote, the blonde friend says he told to knock it off. That's a complete lie. Everyone was mocking her and they won't take responsibility. Fuck this movie and fuck you, Andres, is what I wrote. I was so upset. I just was like so angry. This poor fucking kid. This part's terrible. Where I kind of went over a little bit, like everyone is kind of now assigning blame to him. The blonde girl deflects blame. She's like, I could never be mean, and that is like super annoying to me. I really hated that moment.
Basically what happens is she doesn't go to school for a little bit, and that's why when they kind of try to sort out the bullying problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just ends up shifting over to Shoya. I bet. What they don't really keep going at is that Ueno keeps kind of bullying Shoko, and she reveals that like later in the manga that it was her because you can kind of tell based on later events in the movie, but they outwardly spell it out in the manga that she has a pretty big crush on Shoya.
Mm-hmm.
So she thinks it's all Nishimiya's fault that he's being bullied, so she keeps bullying her.
That makes a lot of sense in retrospect now. And we missed the earring scene happened, and it was aggressive.
Yeah, the mom is very an eye for an eye.
Yeah. So like this part was they're like throwing his shoes away, and like
just a lot of like childish bullying here.
That's a lot of like the form Japanese bullying takes if you watch enough anime or manga, where because they have to switch their shoes in school, a lot of the time they'll just throw away people's shoes or like flush them in the toilet or something like that.
They threw away my shoes at Pacifica. They broke into my locker and then like took over my locker spot and they threw away my shoes and I found them in the trash can. But I was kind of like so confused. I was like, there was no reason to like. There's open lockers near mine. Like
this is a scene where Nishimiya is cleaning Shoya's desk and they start to get into a little bit of an altercation. And it's a little, it's pretty tame right now. And then you finally see in the scene that like Shoko is actually like really trying to be as amenable as possible so that she's not picked on, so that people will appreciate her. This is finally the scene where like you see the humanity in both of them a little bit more. Like you see Shoko stick up for herself in a way, but also get extremely agitated and frustrated.
I cried at this scene. I cried at in the dub it's I'm doing the best I can. And I cried. It really got to me.
One thing I hated about the dub is that if you listen, she says, "I'm cleaning your desk," and they don't say that in the sub.
It's kind of I immediately understood she was cleaning his desk because they were bullying, like they wrote on it, like that one, that made sense to me. And then I was just kind of like, oh man, these kids are so stupid. Like, fuck these kids.
Yeah, and it gets made apparent that it's his desk right here when he's cleaning his own desk.
Yeah,
and you don't necessarily know if Shoya puts two and two together that Nishimiya was actually trying to help him at that point. I'm not sure if that's communicated in the manga or not, but.
And one thing another point against the teacher, in the dub they don't really do it, but in the sub he says, after she transfers, he just kind of implies like, she's gone, that's that, like that's over. Like in the dub all he says is like, so she transferred out.
Yeah,
but there's no addition. There's no addition like, yeah, like, of course this is gonna happen.
Yeah, he seems semi-relieved, but I don't know if that's like projection onto his character or not at this point.
That's how he is in the manga. I think he like literally says at some point like that's the end of that chapter.
She switched schools. I can only hope and pray she is treated better because fuck them kids is what I wrote for that part.
We are a kid-hating podcast now. We're a kid-hating podcast now.
Insert the Michael Jordan picture. Fuck them kids.
Yeah. I really resonated with this scene of like seeing Shoko now in high school. It's a very, I mean, the passage of time. There's something about the passage of time that really gets me. I don't know what it is, but anytime I encounter like potentially emotionally charged material with the passage of time, it just screams at me to be sad, and I don't know why. It's a weird thing.
It makes sense. But I think that's a very common thing.
Yeah, I mean, things that evoke nostalgia of some sort, I think those are almost exclusively make me cry.
Yeah.
How many times? So I have one cry count. Like I was like tearing up on I'm just trying to do my best. When did you get your first cry in Manny? Had they happened yet or no?
Yeah, I think it was the fight scene between Shoko and Shoya, but there are a couple of other ones that are just like random. Like I didn't cry at the big climactic endings, the climax or the ending, which we'll get to, but there were a few. So yeah, I had about 3, I think. Yeah.
I think I had about 3 as well.
I don't remember what it was like when I first watched it. I definitely cried a lot more at just random points, and I don't remember what they are. All my times were later on. The times I still cry are later on, though.
I never was like sobbing and inconsolable. I just like fighting tears and just trying not to cry. For some reason, I'm always trying not to cry.
Yeah, that's...
I only had to pause it once, so...
it never has had a profoundly like sobbing effect on me. It's just very intense emotions and tearing up. What I wanted to bring up right now is just part of what I love about Naoko Yamada, and she has a lot talking about it, is she focuses so much on body language, which is very odd in a way to do with an animated form, because so much is said when Nishimiya and Ishida meet again at the deaf school just without Nishimiya saying anything. Like, you can tell how emotionally distraught she is, and also just like one of the cutest anime characters ever.
So did she go to school?
Yes, she goes to school.
But like, she's just like, we never see her at her school, right?
No.
We never see her there, and I kind of wish we would have seen her like, oh, these are my friends. Like, I did end up making friends. That would have made me feel a bit cathartic and happy.
I don't think they ever really... It's very implied that she doesn't have any friends at her high
they
school.
never... No, that got to me. But it makes sense, they never really talk about it. So this part is... First, I was like, I wanted to acknowledge, like, he is trying to change himself. That is important. Immediately, a person should
when he's
owning up to their mistakes.
When he's talking to Shoko, he goes to meet Shoko. Yeah, for the first time since 6th grade.
I think he has to, like... Does he ever directly say sorry for bullying her?
Not until the end, boyo.
Yeah.
That's the part where I was like...
Yep.
A person should have to apologize and directly say what they did wrong was important. I wrote... Where the fuck... damn, this kid can't hide, and this idiot still almost missed her, is what I wrote for this scene. Because if you hit play on Dress, she's just squatting here. And he just like completely misses her. And I don't know why that made me laugh a lot. I was just kind of like, come on, it's not hard to see her.
I've watched a lot of like YouTube videos on KyoAni specifically, and one thing that I've heard pointed out about A Silent Voice is the way they incorporate the feeling of touch in a movie. Like, because Shoko can't hear, she responds mainly to touch, and you can see
the vibrations.
Yeah, you can see that that's the entire reason that they kind of reconnect at that point. Like, touch and feel, I guess, because it's also brought up when they're watching fireworks. Like, that's why she likes it, is because she can feel it. And
she can feel the sonic booms. That's cool. Here's where I noticed some similar signs in JSL. That like rotating hand thing is signing. So like a person going up and pointing at you and doing the sign thing is asking, and doing the correct facial thing is asking if they sign. So that I was like, oh, it is interesting. Like there's always like parallels between each other. This part of when he slaps himself and like that's very like comedy, right? Like they're trying to insert some like jokes to it. Would you agree with that or not?
Yeah, I mean, one thing about KyoAni is that they're usually very strategic with their comedic relief. They know when to do it and when not to do it. Like, they're not going to put it directly after a super serious scene because they want you to like understand that it's meant to be like emotionally significant, but they will just kind of, they know when to alleviate things a little bit, like show that Shoya is a extremely awkward teenager.
Mhm. Man, do you have any comment? I have a lot of comments. So I'm trying to make sure I don't take over the conversation.
No, you're fine. No, I'm actually just sort of enjoying the movie. No, it's
Okay.
I think that this scene here, when it's like the morning after his like attempt, right, or soon after.
Yeah.
I don't know how soon after. It must not be the morning after,
Well,
because
it has to be
unless
morning
he
after
did, unless he
because
went on the. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the
right.
mother just found the money, right? So, yep.
When I
Uh,
first see him sleeping on the floor, I'm like, dude, why doesn't he have a futon? And then he said, like, they just directly say, like, he doesn't have a futon. I also thought the mom was a lesbian. I thought somehow they adopted this little girl, and that woman that leave is not his sister. I thought the mom was a lesbian.
I read it that way too initially. I don't know why.
Hmm.
But that's
But
how it
like,
came
we see the
across.
guy in the beginning. We see Sebastian in the beginning, and
I
I
didn't
had like
know.
no idea.
Yeah, I know. Me either.
uh, One thing that they kind of briefly imply is that the sister is supposed to be a little bit of a loose shopper, I'll say. So the fact that he, the fact that she has a, I think she's her husband. I don't know if they
I think they
ever,
say husband.
but like the fact that she has a husband and a kid is kind of like supposed to be her mini character growth, despite her like never being shown facially in the manga or the movie.
I saw that, and then the part where the things that always get me is a good sibling relationship. So like him taking care of her and like helping her down off the chair. I was like, I swear to God, if I have to start liking this character because he's nice to his sister, I'm gonna be so upset. And in the end, I'm rooting for him the entire time.
Yeah.
Maria is gonna be scarred by this, right?
This specifically?
This specifically,
She
Maria
does.
seeing and being like, she could maybe remember, maybe not, maybe she's too young, but then being like, I won't try to kill myself, like, that has to be like,
She doesn't
she's gonna have a
understand the weight of
conversation.
the situation.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, kids remember, I don't know. I was like, you better fucking, like, this kid needs therapy too.
Yeah, I mean, but I love the mom. I'll
Oh, the
just use
mom's
this.
great.
I'll just use
There's
this
nothing wrong with the
platform
mom.
to do that. I love the mom. The way, I mean, you can tell that the way Shoya ends up, despite obviously having his quirks and his bad notes that they really like to show you at the beginning, he does regret what he does and is very caring of his mother, and that's why he kind of wants to make amends with people, because he knows he wronged his mother at least, and she can't be the only person. So
As a young child, he recognizes the mom works hard. When they say, like, they're expensive, he thinks to his mom working and, like, how much it would, like, be to, like,
yeah, and that's
work.
why he's so hesitant to own up to it, is
Yeah.
because, and that's why he's hesitant, but that's also kind of why he wants to do it, because he knows that he messed up, and that, but he's hesitant because he doesn't want to have her deal with all of his
Yeah.
screw ups.
In the end, and maybe because he never has a chance to be, but he's not really a bad person. He grew up, he bullied kids, but that's like not too crazy for kids.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
And he bullies kids because of the
he
peer
didn't do
group
it
he's
maliciously.
in.
He did it because, oh, I'm a dumb kid and these other kids are like, here, they're laughing. So I agree, like, he's not really a bad person. But he also, like, what if this never happened, would he be a bad person later? Well, I don't know. I think it could, like you're saying, Andres, the mom really did raise him. He's not that bad of a person. This part with the lines, it reminded me of another manga. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I think this sequence, this sequence was odd. It was like the odd sequence out, I think, for the movie to have like some really artful shots that are like, you know, different styles, sort of surrealist a little bit. I thought it was super weird to have that, but it was cool nonetheless. I appreciated it.
I think that seeing the ending when he finally looks at people in the eye and like he starts listening and hearing conversations, this is like the parallel they want you to draw, because right now in the beginning he's only looking people at the floor. He's going to cover his ears. He's not making eye contact, and then later all that changes. All the X's fall off and they litter all over the floor. It's not fuzzy anymore. It's like clear and crisp, and it's like really interesting.
Also, another thing that Naoko Yamada does is she mimics camera like technology in animation. So like you can see in this frame specifically, there's a ton of depth of field.
Nice. Ton of depth in this field.
But the way she does it is so incredible.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It actually took me a little while to be comfortable with it, because for a second it was ruining the intensity of the movie, but it grew on me a lot because it's so obscuring. Like even right now when he's talking to Kawaii and she has the, her bento, it's not really like, I couldn't really tell it was her. I think that he says her name, but other than that, like it's really hard to assess with the giant X over their faces. So initially I almost sort of considered this like a parallel to sort of like some forms of like cognition dysmorphia, like not being able to emotionally or facially associate people. But I think that I was reading too far into it, because I don't think that that's really what Ishida is dealing with necessarily.
On my initial reaction, I just thought that he's like, oh, I know these people don't like me. Like, it was simple as that. I was just like, these people don't like me, they have an X on their face. And until later, I didn't realize it was just mostly his, like, inability to look them in the eye.
Yeah, it's just him being uncomfortable with people. And as the resident social anxiety man, it's very relatable.
If I'm sitting with one person, it is hard for me to make eye contact, and I noticed it the other day. A friend came down to visit me, and I kind of, I would look past him, I'd look kind of like over his right ear, like over his shoulder, and he kind of did that thing where he was noticing me do that, and then he turned around and like looked out the window, and I was like, oh man. And then I thought of another time I was with a friend, and we were at Toppers, and I just kind of kept looking at the pizza or like the table in front of us, and I think she thought I was looking at her boobs, and I felt really bad. I was like, oh, I'm gross, like god damn. I get uncomfortable for whatever reason. I also get uncomfortable just staring. Like, look, I don't know. Eye contact is like intimate, and I'm like, I don't know. My anxiety's creeping.
The trick to that is to look at a point where nobody's gonna be able to tell that you're not looking at them or that you're staring at any specific body part.
Like their forehead. Stare above their eyes. That's what is normally recommended for performance-y things, is to like stare just above their head. So stare a little bit above their eyes into like their forehead, and it'll seem like it's their eyes. Yeah. Ways to avoid social contact.
Oh, in the manga versus anime comparison, he's a lot more resentful in the manga. Like he kind of has that like Tommy Wiseau feel, like you betrayed me.
Justifiably, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe too long to hold on to those feelings, but like sometimes you're so angry at a person for so long you forget why you're angry.
Well, it's also only been 3 years.
Oh, really? No. I guess that's so
no,
hard.
Wait, no. I guess it's been about 5 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, because Shoko's 18 at the end.
Yeah, they're graduating. But he's a lot more resentful, and in the manga and in the movie, Shoya is very docile and just kind of afraid to step on anybody's toes because he thinks they all hate him. Whereas he's just kind of like, man, these stupid people all hate me. I know it. Like in the manga,
You kind of see it here where like they're talking and he's filling in what they're saying about him.
yes.
Uh-huh.
And it is like he like earlier he's not listening. That girl's cute, by the way. I like how she did her hair. I just want to throw that out there.
The point of this part specifically, though, is basically what I've learned after years is that people don't really actually care about what you're doing specifically.
This part right here, where the guy like helps him point, is it now looking back? He taps the desk and is like, "Hey, look at this!" Like, it goes to show like people don't really care, and it's all in his head. You see his hair early on, and this, and I was like, "Oh, that guy has side hair for sure, a side character hair for sure." But like exactly that, he's hearing all these things. He believes these people are constantly revolving their life around him. And no one cares. People are like, yeah, you seem cool. Like, it doesn't, I don't know why the fuck, like, you think we think this about you.
Nagutsuka, which for some reason he doesn't get a first name in the fucking dub, I noticed.
I call him Drake.
But
does he get a first name in the sub?
I don't think he ever gets one in the movie, no.
Really? Is there a lot more character development with those two in the manga?
Yes. And after the fact, I can explain a very big plot point in the manga that they left out. Like, it's basically the driver for the later half of the movie.
Where I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but does it have to do with the motivation behind Nishima's mental state? Is it a little bit more about that?
No. It's more like a physical thing that helps tie everything together. Whereas in the movie, they're all friends, but there's something in the manga that really is the reason why it's a specific reason why everybody's hanging out.
There's a part where I wrote, people deserve love just because you were shitty once doesn't mean you deserve shit forever. And that's kind of like a thing I wrote for myself sometimes, you know, of like, you fucked up once, your life isn't over, like, get over yourself. I also wrote that this green hair guy might be Deku's dad in My Hero Academia because we don't know what he looks like, so now that's canon in my heart. And there's a part where he says, like, of course I can help you, it's because we're friends. And like him saying it's because we're friends made me cry. And after that, I have like no real importance to broccoli hair with the Drake lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Nagatsuka is for sure one of the most undersung characters in this because he's really the embodiment of actual friendship where you don't really need a reason to be friends with somebody other than you care about them and will do things for them. Like,
I literally became friends with Anders because I ran up to him and said, "You play Xbox Live. Let's play Xbox Live together."
I can't confirm this is what happened.
I'm okay with skipping up until the part where he goes to see until the introduction of what's her name,
Yuzuru.
Yeah, Yuzuru. I thought she was a lesbian. I knew it was a girl. I wasn't convinced it was a boy. I thought she was a lesbian.
Yeah,
No real reason
that's
to
what I
report
thought
to
too.
them. But I really liked the defense immediately. Like, who are you? Like, I have no idea who the fuck you are. I have no reason to help you. Like, what's up?
One thing they kind of leave out is in the mother really wants Shoko to have like a boy's haircut, just so they gives off the vibe that she's strong. But part of what makes Shoko Shoko is actually just that she's kind of a girly girl a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
so she goes with the bob, and Yuzuru's. I mean, she like is about to cut Shoko's hair, and Yuzuru just pulls out scissors and cuts her hair to be like a boy. So that's why she looks like that, is because to defend Shoko from their mom. Even
we see Shoko do this like finger wag a lot, and I don't know if that's like anything Japanese culture or specifically JSL culture, but it might be like a "what's up" type situation. Like "what's up" is in sign language is you put your two middle fingers like on your chest, and you kind of just go up and kind of like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she does that to a lot of people. Where I thought like at first I think a no means like, oh, like no, they didn't need our help, but you don't really know what it is. I have no information from that online, but I just wanted to point that out there.
Yeah. And this is the notable scene where they finally become friends. I'm gonna butcher his name. What's Broccoli Boy's name?
Nagatsuka.
Nagatsuka.
Thank you.
He's kind of annoying at one part.
You know, I find it really endearing.
The part where like they're with the other friends and he's like, "Hey, this guy's my friend," is that to me where that's when I was annoyed. Here I understand it, and like he is very sweet, and this is kind of what this is the Alexi to the Andres of a loud person going up to them and being like, "We're friends now, and this is how it's gonna be," and like kind of forcing friendship onto people. And I don't know, I'm a fan of it because I do it, and I can't not be a fan of it.
No, yeah, I mean, for every Shoya, there needs to be a Nagatsuka who just kind of says, "Hey, man, like, let's hang out."
Yeah, it is what it has to be.
These types of when this scene first came up and I was watching it, where it's a sort of like friendship montage, it sort of made me realize that this film and probably the story itself has just a lot of like highs and lows to it. There are a lot of I wouldn't say they're extreme highs all the time or extreme lows all the time, but it's sort of like a up and down of emotional stability throughout the story, it seems like.
Okay, my thing with the silent voice and the people that like it are always, and just anime fans in general, is that they're always asking for romance and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if it's a boy and girl, they only want romance. The scene where there's a lot of subtleties in the movie that points that there is some romantic interest. I mean, it's overtly stated that Shoko likes Ishida, but you kind of don't really see the other side. And even in the manga, they never really pursue that fully. Mm-hmm. But you can tell that he does basically like her and has a crush on her. Because when Yuzuru tells him, "Yeah, I'm her boyfriend," he like just kind of says like, "Oh, that sucks," and like tries to cover for himself. Like
he drops he gets like shocked. He drops the bread and like, you know. This part right here where Broccoli Boy is just like kind of bullying this child out of nowhere. I'm like, damn, this dude's ride or die, like from the get go. He's funny and not in a way I don't really appreciate sometimes.
I thought they did a really good job of placing him in such a way that you don't see he's going to interrupt their conversation. and that it's like such a stark contrast between the first time that he visited and this time now that he has a friend, just to help stick up for himself, you know.
There's a part after this. She posts him jumping into the river online. That was kind of weird. And then he admits to like he posting it, or like I guess the school forces him to admit he did it in his like apology letter. That was just. It kind of felt like that was just like, things to get it going.
The issue is that he still did it, and it's like not allowed. Period. So the fact that I mean, it's less the fact that he posted like that cocky message and more just like, yeah, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, and I'm saying it was more like it's definitely like an. I wouldn't. It's an interesting plot development force, of like, oh, like this is happening now, and this is how like this person's gonna get revenge. But yeah, there's nothing else I have to say about it. It was just like it was interesting to me. And then this part where she's like, "Oh, she fell in," but like she's deliberately jumping inside the river.
I like that. Somewhere I forget where in the film, but Shoya says it takes a lot of courage to like jump or something from the bridge that I think he initially wanted to jump from, to end his life, like an act of courage or something. And I found it very poetic that Shoko is like just ready to go and jump in. And I think that that's sort of part of her character a little bit, is it seems like for the most part she like does the things that she needs to do for herself, and that also comes back to bite her in the butt a little bit later.
There's nothing else to say. I like to skip to the part where he confronts her inside of the playground. During these scenes, it's a good like story development. You see Maria has hair that is crabs. Like her little hair ends in like crab claws. I thought that was adorable. There's nothing else really to say about it. Look at that. Look at cute little hair. This part was really interesting to me. Like I really didn't know what the exact relationship was. And like the fact that they actually did get in a fight is important to me because it shows like they're not perfect. They're just as human as everyone else is. And it's not going to be like Shoko has a perfect life. Like Shoko can also get mad, even if it's over something dumb like using shampoo. Like it's not like idealizing people with disabilities to be perfect. It's showing like, oh, like, yeah, we all get pissed off at our siblings, etc., etc.
Well, I think that's why Yuzuru eventually just kind of comes to recognize him as somebody who doesn't have ill intent, because she can see that it's helping Shoko to have somebody to kind of talk to, even though it's very much a plot point that they don't really talk all that much. But she says that she gets to be more expressive because of him, and that kind of makes her upset at first, but then she realizes that's what she's always wanted her to do. And there's also a lot of parallel between Shoya and Shoko. Like there's obviously I'll do this scene first because she's mad that he just kind of is like, oh, of course it was you. Like, you have a right to do that. And she's just kind of mad that he's not saying, like, oh, he's not mad at her. Whereas, and Shoko would do the same thing as a kid. One thing I wanted to point out.
It's a really good point.
That I noticed rewatching it dubbed. The part where she jumps into the river to save her old notebook is almost like parallel to the fireworks scene we'll get to eventually.
Wow.
But he misses.
That's a really good point. I hadn't even thought about that. So
yeah.
like they live like right next to this river, or is this river just gigantic? And like everyone kind of lives near it.
I think it just kind of runs through town.
There's a lot of like good character development here, but nothing really was like super. I have anything good notes for. She kind of tries judging him for like, you just want to feel better about yourself, and that's true, but that's not entirely true either. Like, he does want to make amends, and he does want to be her. He doesn't want to just be like, accept my apology. He's like, I want to be your friend, and he is trying to just like help people along. And it's nice. It's not just a person who wants to get redemption. It's a person who wants to completely better themselves by making friends. As much as he thinks he doesn't deserve friends, he does want to be her friend.
Well, I think he wants to. I mean, the way to say that is more just he wants her to have a friend that he wasn't able to provide as a kid. Whereas he doesn't necessarily want friends because, I mean, it's kind of expressed in the movie, but it's a little more clear in the manga. Like, when they start hanging out with more and more people from the elementary school, like Ueno and Kawaii specifically, like, before that point, after he reunites Shoko and Sahara, she asks him, is there anybody you want to like know or meet up again with from elementary school? And he just kind of like full on like PTSD, like, no, like he just doesn't want any part to do with it.
I was going to say Shoya really is sort of on a redemption for himself. And I mean, like, he wants to redeem, but also to sort of relieve himself from his pain. And I think that is definitely, like, this resentment that drives him is mainly the thing that all the characters are there for. Like, not plot device wise, but just to him, I think it's like making amends with Shoko, and by extension, it sort of happens to be everyone else as well.
There's a part where the mom tells, what's the name of the sister? I'm sorry, Yuzuru, like, don't hang out with that boy and tell your sister to. And there's a part of it where I imagine it is just kind of like efficiency. Like, I'm not in the mood to talk to your sibling. But it's also like, I don't think we ever see the mom sign.
She doesn't learn, and it's kind of implied because she wants Shoko to be strong, but also what they don't tell you is that she has to support the family by herself. So
yeah, so like she has no time to learn.
Yeah, she doesn't have time to go to classes or anything.
And it is like any other language, you need to just be constantly using it. But then you could, I don't know, learn from the kids or something. But I at that part I did take note of, like, you never see them directly have a conversation.
Her mom is trying to like be strong, or as strong as possible, and I think it just kind of makes her come off as ignorant sometimes, but her intentions are good.
Yeah. Do you guys know what name signs are?
Name signs?
Name signs?
Where you spell out, like, you're talking about like proper noun signs?
Close. Andres?
What do you mean?
Name signs in ASL
okay.
is so usually if when you're introducing yourself, you sign out your name. So I sign out my name, and that's yep. Who I am. And as you develop, this is how I was told in my classes, name signs are just shorthand, like a nickname specifically in sign language. So like my mom got a name sign. Her name starts with an O, so they do the letter O, and she had very long hair when they met her, so they would do the O and they would run it along when she had long hair. And a name sign can only be given to you by an actual deaf person. Like, you can't just assign your name sign. Like, it has to be given. And I don't know if that's ever implied here in the story, but it really, I just was kind of like recollecting about stuff like that during my like second break of this movie. I watched it in like 3 parts. But that to me is something like is it's an important part of deaf culture. Something I never got received one, and I always wished I had. Like it seems like you finally it's when you're accepted, in my opinion. So like I thought maybe at one point she would give him a name sign as showing like where you're accepted, like you're my person type thing, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And I did not know.
I really like Miyoko. That's her name, right?
Yeah, Sahara Miyoko.
I really like her. I think she tried being the friend, you know? Like, she admits she's a coward, and I never really understood that. Like, I guess because she never directly stands up for Shoko, but I also can understand and easily forgive that for the most part. And so does Shoko. Shoko doesn't seem to give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's more just her blaming herself for not being able to be there for Shoko.
Which makes sense, you know?
Like, she's not able to be the Nagatsuka to Shoko.
Yes. I wrote Miyoko's the best character of all time, and then I wrote, never mind, she just grabbed her tits, and I was like, I think it's kind of like a Japanese thing they do a lot, and like I've seen an anime, and I was like, I don't know if I'm okay with it.
She's doing it because it's like
it's a thing to do.
Yeah, it's the typical like teenage girl thing, I think.
The thing that really astounds me is Shoya and Shoko's like interactions in the early stages of reconnecting. I think that they're all very they're very evocative of like awkwardness still. And the awkwardness has layers to it. Has like a lot of layers to it. It's not only like reconnecting, but it's also like their own problems coming through, whether it's a disability or whether it's like, you know, just general personality differences. So I really like that. That's like sort of like the bread and butter of like slice of life interaction for me, is sort of like the way that people communicate.
Have you guys ever been to a cat cafe?
No, I run a cat cafe out of my apartment.
I went to one, and it was as of never having had like interactions with a cat. I held a kitten, and I was like, "This is the greatest moment of my life. It's so cute." There's a part where this part with like Yuzuru and the dead things. It was not clear to me at all. I did not pick up on it at all. I know she takes a picture of like that toad in the rain at one point. I thought it was just a toad being weird, but I realized toad doesn't really just stretch out for no reason. Did you guys understand that first time watching it, Manny? Like the dead things, or no?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't understand the fascination with it until it's made apparent when Yuzuru sort of like confesses that she was hoping that by taking these photos and showing Shoko that she would not want to kill herself anymore. But other than that, I have to wonder if there's like, I think it speaks to the dedication of Yuzuru, because really the writing of Yuzu is sort of about like protection of Shoko. So I think that it was definitely used to that effect. Yeah.
Well, part of what they don't quite get to is that Nishimiya transfers to their school initially because she's being bullied in the school she went to before. So Yuzuru like is very much just all about trying to protect her. So after there's a later scene, I think it's like right after or when she's taking down the pictures of the dead things and she explains why she was taking them. That scene, you can see it's Shoko in having just got out of the pond, like not fishing out or going to fish out her notebook, but not fishing it out, where she just straight up says she wants to die as a fucking 5th grader. So like she like understands this and is trying to do what little she can to try to dissuade her from thinking like that anymore. What do you guys think about Ueno?
I don't like her, but I get her. I mean, like I get the position in life she's in. So she is a very grounded character. She's just not grounded in the space that I would want to be in. But she's I mean, initially when she comes off, when we first encounter her, it sort of seems like she wants the attention pretty badly. And I don't know if that's really part of her character for the entirety of it, but she's definitely like interested in Ishida in some way, whether it's just wanting his attention or whether it's that like rebirthing of the crush that she had on him at this point in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I at the end of the movie, I still don't really like her that much. So
I don't like her at all. I don't. It is kind of like you do find a lot of people fall back into their own old ways, you know, and so like her not liking her because it burdened her. I don't see why she hated her, and she directly says that most of the time. She's like, I hate you, and she does this thing where she's like, I hate you, so you have to hate me, and Shoko's just like, and she's like, I can't hate you. I can't. I just can't hate you. I don't have that. I don't have no desire to hate you, is what basically is. And then she gets upset because she's like, well, then you're making me feel bad because I'm being the only bad person here. And it's like, it just doesn't. She really has no redemption for me. Like, I understand why she's like this, but it's not excusable in any way. I don't see any like redeeming quality about her. Even in the end, when she like learns the sign, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I have no desire. I don't want you two to be friends. You two shouldn't be friends.
I think she really comes out in the end serving the purpose of showing both her and Sahara not really growing the way that they wanted to. And like, I think that both of those characters are sort of like, this is part of life too. So this is why we have Ueno and Sahara like that. But
why do you ask, Andres?
I don't know. She's just a very contentious character. There are people that absolutely love her.
Really?
Yeah, but I think that's more just like horny anime nerds, if I'm being honest. But
they want someone to like them like she likes Ishida.
They want mean people.
Yeah, exactly. But I think she's definitely one of those characters that's very interesting to me because she really lies within a point where you're not really supposed to like her, but she's very understandable, and that's why I really like slice of life and Kyoto Animation stuff specifically, because it's very easy to paint her as a villain, but she's not a villain. She just is somebody who got fed up with trying to be helpful to Nishimiya and trying to be her friend. Like, she just lacks patience and is very blunt about
she's
everything.
She's a real person.
Yeah.
Those are real qualities people have where they don't have patience and they don't care. And that to me was like, I like her more than I like blonde glasses girl.
Yeah.
Because she can admit, she's like, yeah, I'm shitty and that's fine. Like, let's just be shitty with each other. And I was just kind of like, all right, like, that's not right. Like, what you're saying is still wrong, but like, at least you're not disillusioned to believe you're like this amazing person. But I don't like her at all. I don't think she has any redemption, and I think she's great.
Yeah, from a narrative standpoint, she doesn't really get any true redemption.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing that I just realized here is that Shoko is picking out the gift that she gives to Shida to confess her love to him.
Damn, I didn't notice that shit. Good job, Manny. I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, there's this like interesting contention between like Ueno and Shoko in that context now that I'm saying it. Like I didn't really think about it before. I was like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
Ishida like really doesn't want Shoko to see Ueno because it would look weird having a girl sitting where presumably she was sitting or something. But now
Hmm.
it's sort of contextualized a little bit in like a I mean, as much as I'm not trying to romanticize things, but it sort of seems like it's a little bit closer to that just because I saw the gift that she picked out. But I don't know.
Now
Yeah,
that
I
you
don't,
say it, on just too, when she's saying all these things of like, oh, this is so lame, you guys are going to get out together. Like, I could see this reigniting her anger towards Shoko of being like, you're
yeah.
stealing the guy I like.
And one of the big things that they really take out in the movie is that there's a unspoken love triangle between the three.
Hmm.
Ishida is very just like unaware of both of their feelings to the
Hmm.
point where like basically the last like solo conversation he has with Ueno is she like the last thing she tells him is that there's like three important points that she needs to tell him about when he was in a coma or whatever and why she was taking care of him. And then like the third one is literally just her saying like use your head for once, like dumbass, like
Yeah.
just trying to be like I like you but without saying it.
I guess once she like hit and like got angry with Shoko and like the Ferris wheel, I was like, I don't care what this person does. It's like kind of too far for me.
Yeah. That's one thing also dub versus sub that I feel like the Ferris wheel scene where her side is a little bit like
More aggressive or something.
she seems more hate filled when she slaps her as opposed to just kind of slapping her because like why would you say that? Like don't say
Mhm.
that because you shouldn't want to kill yourself or you shouldn't hate yourself. Like and it's obviously her not knowing how to handle her emotions.
Oh, really? Okay. I guess I'm confused a little bit on the gift. Could you guys have a little more insight on like why she picked the gift?
Uh it's common, I think. I mean, I wouldn't say it's extremely common. I actually don't know for sure, but gifting when confessing love seems like a trope
No,
I've ran
the
across in
choice
like
of
anime
gift.
and stuff. Oh. No fucking idea.
Like why those things?
I don't know why specifically she chooses the gift. It might just be like to play up that she doesn't really know a lot about him, and so it's just kind of something like,
She thought
oh
was
yeah,
cute.
yeah, it's just kind of
Hmm.
something. I
I
mean,
get that.
she is a bit of a girly girl, as I said, so like she probably just thought it was cute and wanted to give him something that was cute. But also the
Mhm.
present she gives him kind of just serves as a I'm blanking on my literary terms, but it's a symbol of them not being actually able to communicate because Shoya's so like kind of afraid to ask her what they are.
Hmm.
Mm.
Okay.
And it's a little more clear in the manga because like she's literally about to check out of college and instead of like everybody's like goading him to say something like to say like I love you or whatever and instead he says, "Hey, by the way, what was the gift that you got me that one time? Like what were those actually?" And so but like this time he just kind of figures in the movie he just kind of figures out when his mom like figures it out for him.
I wrote she is not afraid of her hearing aids being seen anymore. And then I wrote, "Let's fucking go TIE Fighter," because Andres had just posted that. I did feel that way of like no longer feeling shame about like her her hearing aids. I thought she was hiding them before. Maybe that wasn't the right context, or maybe she was just doing it so she would look cuter for Shoya. But I took it as maybe like kind of like a point of pride. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think she's just trying to
Look cute for him.
She's trying to look cute, and also I think she's compensating and wants to be like a quote unquote normal girl for him. Just like that's why she tries to speak to him.
Yeah. That speaking scene was definitely hard to watch when he says like, "Oh yeah, is my voice weird?" And he's like, "Yeah, it is." And it's like, Jesus, like.
Yeah, I mean that's part of his like being emotionally stunted.
Oh yeah, it's a total slip of honesty because you don't know how to handle the social situation. But it is just like, man, that has to hurt.
This part brings up the point why I even bothered watching the dub in the first place.
Okay, I meant to ask you about that too.
One special thing about the dub is that Nishimiya's voice actress is actually deaf.
Oh,
so that's kind of why I wanted to see it, like just to experience what that's like, because that's really cool.
Is the English one deaf? I meant to look into that.
No, the English one is deaf. The Japanese one is not.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you. The English one. Wow, that's good. I appreciate that.
That's why this part is kind of funny in the English, in the dub, because I feel it doesn't make sense. I feel really. It doesn't make sense because it's definitely a Japanese turn of phrase to confuse the moon with being in love, and it happens in like literally every romance manga ever. But I feel kind of bad for the English voice actor because they definitely had to tell her like, you need to jumble up the last line a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you need to sound more deaf because like you can fully understand her in the movie.
You fully understand her.
Yeah. Like she obviously has that deaf accent, but you can fully understand her, whereas I think if you understand like a tiny bit of Japanese, just picking it up, like you can understand why there's a mix up at this part in the sub.
Yeah. I figured that too. Like it was just like, this is just part of the problem with translation. Do you guys think, so like, I think we talked about this beginning with like the first name stuff. Do you think they should just say like, this is just people, like, they're saying the last name and that's common. That's just how it is. It's respect, and like just kind of let the audience be smart enough to figure that out. Because I really think they should. Like, I think it's really weird that they force this like first name thing when it's clearly a very important thing in Japanese culture.
Yeah, it's weird. I think I'd prefer the last name and honorific, but I know that makes a lot of English speakers mad.
Mm-hmm. when she's on the bed and she like kicks her feet is like really cute and adorable. Right here.
Yeah, Naoko Yamada, the director, is very known. People love to overstate it and be like, "Oh, she has a leg fetish," because she loves to shoot scenes specifically of just legs. But a lot of what she explains about it is that you can learn a lot of people just by watching the way they walk and how their legs move and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that scene is just kind of perfect for her.
One of the things I was confused about was actually, I think his name's Mashiba. His role in the relationship dynamic. Because I mean, I like,
he's kind of just another person.
I mean, it's really random for him to want to be friends out of left field. I don't remember the reason for it.
Yeah, exactly. They just say you look like a cool guy to hang out with.
They
In the dub?
really, yeah, that's basically what the movie is. They really take a lot out of what his character is. Basically, he's supposed to be another person that was bullied as a kid. So he sees Shoya and thinks, oh, this kid is pretty weird, so I kind of want to hang out with him just to prove that I'm not weird. Or like just to prove to himself that he's not, it could be much worse. And and he's just kind of, because a lot of what the manga has that the movie cuts out is a very overt coming of age, like actually just turning 18 and what you do after. Like obviously the movie is also just like, it's not really coming of age, it's more just like coming of yourself, like trying, like fully understanding yourself. But like a lot of what his backstory is about is he wants to be a teacher because he was bullied, and he like overtly says, I want to be the influence on those kids that bullied me. I want to influence their children. Like, and there's like some implied malicious intent behind that. But but he gets a lot more time.
That's a pretty cool.
He's like a good guy in the end. He's just a good person who wants to be friends with the people.
Kind of and kind of not. Like in the movie, he's definitely just kind of a good guy that just thinks he's kind of cool, probably because he sees how Nagutsuka really interacts with him. In the manga, he's a little more selfish and just kind of a weird person, but he's like,
at first glance, he reminded me, what's the name of the guy, Andres in Evangelion, that wants to bang Shinji, basically?
Oh, Kaoru?
Yeah, he reminded me of him a little bit. Just because, like, out of nowhere, there's this character, and I'm like, he's going to be so important to the story now, and I have no idea who this is, and then it kind of wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, he serves a little bit more of a purpose in the manga, and I think the entire reason they kept him in was just to have that. To myself, I always call it the bridge scene, where he just like says something to each one of his friends where that gets them to go away, where that scene where he just like pushes everybody away.
Yeah.
I think they just kind of leave him in the movie as the trigger for that, because it causes Kawaii to get all defensive and start crying and stuff like that, because he thinks she told him about what happened in elementary school and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's a little more to his character that really isn't expressed.
This part, I was like, why the fuck is this piece of shit here? This is the blonde guy again, and I just don't.
Shimada.
Shimada, that's his name. I really did enjoy. I really did like this contrast, where like he's like, how could you do this? How could you involve yourself in my life? But he's like, oh, I do the same thing, kind of. You know, like he does admit it, like but it is weird. Like,
yeah,
they stopped being friends. He was actively bullying him, but he did the same thing to her. But like, I don't know. It's weird. It feels like she's just being hopeful for the past to come back, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what I really love about the writing in this movie, that nobody is fully in the right or wrong. Like there's
Mhm.
just so much gray area that everybody lives in because it's such a deeply social issue that happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of good gray
Um,
area like story narratives, and this one fits in there really well.
there's a part where he didn't know he was allowed to have this much fun. There's a song I remember hearing, and it's not even in the lyrics. It's kind of like a side. I don't know what it'd be called. Like there's a main singer, and then there's like people on the side that are also singing. There's a specific one for that.
The hype man.
Background.
Background
No.
singers.
Yep.
Background singers.
Yep.
There's a background singer that says like, "I didn't know I had what it takes to feel happy," and that like made me really just. I constantly go back to that song because I think it's a really like poetic thing to say at times for people with depression, where you're just like, am I even like chemically able to feel like happiness? But then it's like, of course you can, of course you are. Like sometimes you forget that you have it. But this is something I just want to touch back on.
I remember for sure I cried at this part, or at the part where Shoko says or admits that she hates herself the first time I watched it. Like,
I think I kind of glossed over this part, honestly. I was just so angry at her that I didn't really process it.
no, yeah, I mean, that part hit me like a ton of bricks when I first watched it. It doesn't really quite have the same effect on me anymore, but
It's definitely something
It happens pretty quick
It is quick.
because there's like an immediate retaliation.
I think that's maybe why I never reacted all that badly to the slap, because like whenever I've had that, I've definitely just kind of had to self slap myself. Like, it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe it's true, but you probably shouldn't think that way, or else it's just going to self perpetuate.
So much good drama in this in this narrative.
If we could pause it for a second, this made me really wonder. Like, I've definitely met people who've admitted they used to be bullies, and I remember hearing like the last time I heard it, someone was like, "Oh, I was a bully in elementary school," and they kind of said it like matter of factly, and like when I heard it, I like physically recoiled a little bit, and I just was like, I don't know if I want to talk to this person anymore. Like, because it kind of felt like they were proud, but it was more just like they've accepted that part of their life and they've like learned to move on. But it was definitely like it makes me wonder, like people who were actual bullies and like did things like this, how they like if they've ever like people they always say like, oh, I go and I admit I'm sorry, blah blah blah. Like it just made me feel really like I don't know, like it shifted my mentality to something I never really think about.
Because
Yeah.
Shoya, if you look at the wider picture, he's really only a bully for like half a year.
Yeah.
For 1 year in elementary school.
Uh-huh. And it's not like that big of a deal. So that's why I'm kind of like, but then again, like I said before, a person who like matured and understands how I must be hard for him to admit that he bullied someone, especially when that guy's like, isn't it terrible that someone did this exact thing that you did? Like,
Yeah. I mean, speaking from experience a little, like you gravitate towards like the thoughts of your actions. Like once you begin to resent your actions, they fester and it sort of becomes like a festering like thing that just stays with you. And so like that's one of those things that I definitely like identified with throughout this is like the feeling of resentment can be like an overwhelming thing. Like even if you've come to terms with a lot of it, there can still be things where like you just have to try to do it. And I think that that's sort of where Shoya was at before meeting Shoko.
okay, so here's the bridge scene, Andre.
Okay. I mean, I'll explain why. I mean, this is just No, I'll explain why I hate Kawaii later, but this is just very much the movie part why I hate her is that she refuses to own up to like at least excluding Nishimiya, even if she never overtly made fun of her. Like,
Yep. It's it's my second least favorite scene with her. There is one more part that I hate her more, and I'll say it when it comes up.
but basically, in the manga, basically what they cut out from it's a very big plot point. What they cut out is Nagutsuka wants to be a movie director, so he has them all trying to enter in like a film contest. So what he basically pitches the idea to Shoya, and because Nagutsuka doesn't really have any friends, he like kind of just dumps on like, oh, we need staff, Shoya, go find them. And so like he kind of has to become closer to everybody so they can fill in those staff positions, and it really kind of starts to connect them. And they go back to their elementary school because they need like a filming location, and Nagutsuka is insisting on an elementary school. So what ends up happening is he goes with Mashiba, they confront the old teacher, and he doesn't like call him out or anything for being a bully, but like he basically tells them like, yeah, sure was crazy with that deaf girl, huh? And like he puts it together like, oh, you mean Shoko, right? And it's just like that's where the teacher really shines as like a absolute asshole. But
Yeah, like that. Yeah, it makes sense.
That's kind of where he like starts to put it together and like tells Ishido like, damn, that's terrible that happened or whatever. And he's not really accusing him of anything, but he's just like probably resentful that he probably didn't do anything. And then and then Kawhi tells him like he was the one that did it. Like, and so like the bridge scene is basically like where the whole movie idea almost gets scrapped because nobody wants to hang out with each other anymore.
Mm-hmm. This part is, yeah, I agree. Like Kawhi being the exact same thing you're saying. She just refuses to admit she's the problem, or part of the problem at least. But this part is so strange to me because he like straight up is having like a depressive episode. He kind of calls out their friends on things, like him calling out Freckles girl for being a coward feels so out of left field. Like it doesn't really make sense to me. Him getting mad at the broccoli guy makes sense to me, and the everyone else that makes sense. But like right after this, he goes, "Hey, like, what do you want to do now, Shoko?" Like he just kind of like pretends it didn't happen, and it just feels like so, I don't know, bad, like so in poor taste or something.
Well, that's how it's supposed to be. Is
Yeah,
he doesn't
exactly.
He doesn't want to tell her what happens because he doesn't want to tell her that, oh, I accidentally burnt all the bridges that I like had just reformed again. So like he's trying to play the, oh, everything's still fine because you don't know what happened, so let's go somewhere. And she reacts with her trademark pained smile.
The redhead guy in the dub, he says like something, and Shoya goes like, "An outsider doesn't have a right to comment," and it kind of is like such like a backwards thing to say of like, if you're not here the entire time, you have no right to comment on it. But it's like you do have a right to be like, "Hey, this is what I'm seeing." Like you could just, it's a very like defensive thing to say, and it makes sense why he's saying it.
Yeah, I mean, in the manga, it's a little more clear why he's there because, like, he says, like, yeah, I'm a bully, like, because he had previously said, like, I wish I could beat up the bullies that I had, and he's just like, yeah, I'm a bully, go ahead, like, beat me up or whatever, and he punches him in the face, like.
Jesus Christ. Man, do you have any comment about the bridge scene? Sorry.
It's a good scene. I'll comment on this later, but there are a lot of parallels to Anohana, the flower we saw that day, like all over this film and narrative. So I'll touch more on it a little bit later. Yeah.
So Yuzu doesn't go to school, and like they eventually do confirm that. But I was like me, just wondering.
In the dub, it's a little weird because she says, like, I haven't been to school in weeks, but it's implied that, like, she just doesn't go to school at all.
Yeah.
And everything else.
And then there's a part where, like, again, like, it kind of, like, skips around a lot. Like, when later she's in the uniform, and Shoya's like, why are you in your uniform? And she's like, I'm going to school. And the guy's like, it's like summer vacation. And I'm like, yeah, this must be drastically weird. Like, this guy isn't being a dunce as usual. It is just, like, what's going on here.
Just pointing out one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I don't really have much to say about it, though, is the one where the butterfly at the funeral causes the two sisters to really look at each other.
Yeah. Does the butterfly have one dot because she only has one ear that works? That was like a parallel I thought I was trying to like draw from, but I don't know if that's too much.
Yeah, I don't know.
Potentially.
Sure. I mean, the butterfly is supposed to be like the grandma.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a part where like that made me think of like in typical, like I was like in a lot of funerals, I've been to a lot of funerals, and you always see people like me personally, cousins you want to reconnect with. And like you just never, it's kind of like a place to make reconnections, and you always hope they last longer than they do. So that I agree with Andres. That is one of my favorite parts of like these two people. Like, yeah, this is probably one of the hardest parts for a person to go through to watch a funeral for a loved one, but it is usually where people like make connections. This is a badass museum.
It's a real place too.
Whoa, dude! I want to go. This place is beautiful.
Yeah, I basically looked it up, and it's by some two experimental, or one's an architect, one's an artist, I think, but they have a lot of like theoretical stuff on how people interact with the built environment and whatnot. It's pretty great, but yeah, I mean, the part after the bridge scene where they're on their little date, my favorite part of this, after watching this movie twice in the last 2 weeks, is just the physical distance that's between them the entire time.
Yeah, they're like not walking together.
Yeah.
Did she trick the train alone for a little bit?
No, they're on it together, but it just,
like the way
it shows only her that she's just sitting by herself. Like,
yeah, that was so noticeable. This next part where like there's like a dynamic change in his personality when he's hanging out with Yuzu and her. I thought he was gonna kill himself again, because it's kind of like it's a very common thing I've read where like depressed people will suddenly become happy, and it's because they've finally decided to kill themselves, and like there's a solution now. There's like an end to their problems. So that's what I thought was going on. But like, is it really now just him trying to be like?
It's him. I mean, it's after the scene where they learn that Shoko hates herself, so he's trying to overcompensate and make sure that she doesn't feel bad about what happened now that it's only them three hanging out all the time.
44 is an unlucky number in Japan, right? So I thought like the 44 was something bad, and it is technically bad. Like her mom just died. Your daughter tries to kill herself. Oh, this is the third time I cried. When they talk about the submission, like submitting the artwork, and like the mom like recognizing Yuzu, because there was, I don't know why, of just like, yeah, like I wanted to help you. I know you're struggling, but like I still love you and care about you. That made me tear up.
Another one of those things where like they try to get across touch through visuals and sound is this whole fireworks scene. Like just the pure bass that's on it is pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
The part where they're all watching the fireworks, when they show the other characters, the people that have families is the two mean people, the blonde girl Kawaii and Uno, or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
They're with their families, and then so is Shoya's families. But like the three other friends are alone. And I don't know if that means anything, but it's something I did pick up on.
It's more having to do with their personality types. All the other friends are very supposed to be kind of loners and
The sign that Shoko gives Shoya at the end of the fireworks scene, the initial scene, isn't that like thank you?
yes. That's why it's like so significant.
Yeah. One of the things I thought was very interesting about like the movie, and in particular the way I watched it, which was subbed, is that like those don't get filled in when Shoko's not speaking. So like you have to be able to pick up on the cues a little bit. Cause like I sort of realized something was going down when I saw her say thank you, you know, but otherwise I wouldn't have, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the number one like alarm is supposed to be that she didn't say "see you later," because they really like pound into your head what "see you later" is.
Him taking off his shoes is so funny to me.
I think that him like tripping over and taking off his shoes is like a great way to build suspense in the scene, because you know it's like time is of the essence, but it's also totally like within his character design to do that.
Yeah, and this is why I hate the first name thing in the dub, is because in the sub he's yelling her last name, like trying to be honorable, and then when he like gets desperate he yells her first name.
Oh.
Unfortunately it's this that just kind of has to be what actually connects them to.
Yeah. I was like, I'm like, use your feet as leverage, pull up. Like I was like trying to like solve the problem. For some reason, this is when I finally pieced together he couldn't look people in the eye because he directly says it, and then he says, tomorrow he'll do better. And I don't know, the words "everybody wants it tomorrow" just kind of like I kept thinking about, like, you always want another chance at the very end. Like you always think you don't deserve one, and at the last second you always want another one.
Yeah, I mean that's what I love about this part, is just like him trying to bargain, like I'll do everything if I get another chance. Just let me get that other chance. Part of the reason why I also love this movie is how grounded it is. We've talked about it, but like,
oh, I didn't know he was bleeding.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
After the fact of everything happening, Shoko is in a sling because of course she wouldn't come out of that like unfazed.
There's the part where like someone says, "If I had done better," it really broke my heart. That was, say again.
Izuru says it.
This part, it really got to me. It just, you always blame yourself in the end, even if it's nothing to do with you. There's a thing in the dub, at least in the subtitles, where they go, "You're a blight," as they tell her, which is, to me, is like a crazy thing to tell a person. A blight is like a tragic thing upon a whole, like a burden She's telling this disabled person they're a burden for their disability. And that's but they don't say that in English. Like just the subtitles said in English, they just say something else. I don't remember what they said. They say you're a cancer, equally as bad.
Yeah.
Then this part's really cool where the mom fights a child. I thought that was really cool. The mom met Shoko before this in the manga?
Not in the manga. She knows who she is, but not in the movie either.
Oh, are you Shoko? Yeah, she literally just asked in this one. And I think in the dub they don't say it. The I'm sorry came out very heartbreaking. And I wrote that the mom must be traumatized by all the apologies. You know, like everyone's apologizing. It's kind of like it's so eventful. I also thought the crying was kind of, as mean as it is to say, not that good from some of the actors. Like it just didn't come across as like very genuine. Like Yuzu's kind of felt a bit flat.
Yeah, one of my messages when I was reading the dub was, or when I was watching the dub, was that they did Yuzuru's voice. So
yeah,
they did her so dirty in the dub. She's such an expressive character in the sub, and part of the reason why she's my favorite.
There's so many pictures. Like that's a lot of pictures. So like, who knows how long she's been going through this?
Since 5th grade.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, that's true. So, this is the part I hated. She says one, she needs to, I need to yell so she'll hear me. That's not how that works. If they were actually friends, in my opinion, you would know that. Like, you know? Like, that doesn't, hearing aids let you hear. Like, it doesn't make sense. You don't need to yell. And then she says, you have to learn to love even the things you hate about yourself and move forward. Which means she's forgiven herself for bullying bullying Shoko. This is how I interpreted this. She's like, oh, I was mean to you, but I'm okay with it. I did that now. Like, it doesn't, she basically excuses herself from being a problem. And at that, it infuriated me so much. I was so upset during this scene. I just was like, this is the worst character in this whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad scene. In general for Kawaii.
Thank you.
The one part I miss in the manga that they aren't able to do in the movie, that I really wish they would have just done an anime series out of it, but during when he's in the coma, because he's the main voice in the manga, they give everybody their own separate chapter of
Great.
Kind of what's going on.
Does it do like, how long is he in the coma for? Do we know?
It's like a week, I think.
Does it show like everyone in the whole week? Like you start on Sunday and then you end on Saturday, each chapter?
No. It's just kind of like what they're thinking at that time, like in between that area. And Kawaii's is the most upsetting because like literally her issues with herself that she's referring to is that she's too cute and people only see her as cute, and she has to try really hard to like be a good person and be that like class rep type.
So dumb.
Oh.
There was a girl in my dorm, in our next dorm, and she got into an argument with someone. So girl A got an argument with girl B, and girl B was like, you said something terrible about me, it's not cool what you did, like that's fucked up, blah blah, like really blowing up on her, and it was justified. Girl A messed up completely. And then girl A was talking and she goes, I don't want to feel bad about this anymore, so I'm not going to. And then she kind of just immediately forgave herself like the next day. And it was like, that's not how this works, dude. Like, you're the bad person here. You don't just get to decide that you're not. And it blew me away. But she reminds me of her. Kawaii reminds me of that girl a lot.
The few scenes that still make me cry are the reaction that the Nishimiya family reaction after like they say sorry to the mom and everything. Like it's just like oh my god, like that's what it's like. And the second bridge scene, or like the 20th actually, but the bridge scene where they meet again.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
Did you watch this with headphones, Manny?
I did not know.
Andres, did you?
Yes.
I think it's this. There's a part where it might be before, where you only hear the ringing on the ear she's only deaf in.
Yeah, this is supposed to be from her perspective.
Yeah. So you hear it you hear it ringing, but only on one side.
Yeah, I mean that's easily the most powerful chapter in the manga, and definitely one of my favorite parts of the movie is her specific chapter where it's just her, and basically it just cuts to a dream she's having, which is this, where she wasn't deaf and can like actually communicate with people and everything's fine, and it's very heartbreaking.
I wrote, these kids are so bonkers. They shoulder all the blame of life, and I relate to them on every level. Is he yanking out a catheter?
Yes.
He yanks out a catheter. He has to if he's been in coma for like a week.
Yes, he does.
That's so bonkers.
It's pretty fresh.
I mean, this is obviously the least believable, least grounded scene in the movie, is him waking up and getting
like
out
no
of the
one
hospital.
stopping him. No one.
Yeah.
Just being able to get away.
Yeah.
Him having enough strength to like leave. Oh, that's a catheter for sure.
But it's also just like such a great moment.
It's so powerful. There's a cathartic release of tension for him. Yeah, this scene gets to me.
Yeah, it's like the first. It's supposed to be like one of the big climaxes of the film. I didn't cry, but it was very emotionally impactful for me. Yeah.
The next scene, he says, "I understood you in ways that were convenient for me." It's like really powerful, because you're basically just not taking on the problems of others, so it's easier for yourself. Like,
yeah, he says it here.
Yeah, ignoring all the hard parts of other people's lives so your life is easiest is like a real human thing and to do. Like, you can't be. It's hard to burden your own problems as well as others, but like to admit it like that is so powerful. I have nothing else to say about the bridge scene, but I do have something to say immediately after this part. So if you have something else to say.
No, I think it's a great scene. It's like the first moment of resolution, and there's more to be resolved.
This scene is basically the romantic payoff, because they don't ever really follow up on anything or any seeds that are sown, but I think telling somebody I want you to help me live is a pretty significant thing. And obviously you want them to be in your life for a really long time.
Can you sit like that? Like with your two knees inwards?
I cannot.
I don't think I can physically do that.
I can do it, but not for long.
You're crazy. I can't do that at all. The scene after this scene I was like emotionally, I think like Manny said, like it was emotionally very powerful, but it didn't make you cry. Right afterwards, Maria goes and says, "Shosho, you died," and like hugs him. I was like, okay, I need a minute. Like, this is too much. Like, I needed to like breathe for a bit, because it was like so sad. Like, I don't know. And like the way you see her walk and it takes like a second for her to get to him because she's just so tiny. Man, it fucked me up hard. This scene also got to me in a very impactful moment. I have as previously stated, I had a sister who passed away. I have a giant soft spot for like these scenes of like an older male helping like a younger girl like learn things, and I'm just like, I can't. This is too like I wasn't crying, but I was just like, yeah, like this is development. This is more development about anything than I give a shit about. I don't care about Shoko anymore. I don't care about anyone else. I'm just happy Yuzu is getting where she needs to go.
Yeah, I think what they don't really explain in the dub, unfortunately, is that the reason she's going to school is because she won that competition, and like it kind of gives her an in, like a reason why she was gone for so long. And so like that's why she says like I owe it to Shoko to at least try.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was her idea to submit it.
Well, Yuzu saying I don't want to disappoint anymore is a very relatable thing.
Shoya overtly saying I don't fit in at school, I think, probably made me cry the first time. The moment where Shoya walks into his class after being gone for so long and just like completely chickening out from wanting to be the center of attention is beyond relatable to me.
I think this is the scene where you get to see all of the characters like this is also a small resolution point because all of the characters are sort of just growing into their identities at this moment, or at least you get to see how they have. And like you see Ueno know a sign, and it's like, oh, she's developing, and you see Sahara, like, you know, I like how it's dumbass in this sub. It was like moron in the other one.
They say moron on Netflix, yeah.
Yeah. But in general, I think this is like one of those scenes where, at least to me, it's sort of driving the point home that like, oh, you can develop and change, but also like it's silly to expect that all the time. So like being able to be okay with no change, and still check out the festival, right?
In the dub, then she presents the 1,000 cranes. She cries because it didn't finish enough, and it really does make me laugh because it's like they're basically saying like, "We're sorry you came back to life so fast." like you kind of revived too much.
The thing that they kind of leave out is that it's supposed to imply that like nobody in the class really wanted to do it because he doesn't really hang out with anybody. So it was mainly just like her
Those
and
three.
A couple people.
That's such a nice point to have, like because there's a fine line in this film about like balance between like hopefulness and like dejection and like sadness, and I think like that didn't come across to me, and I wish it had, because it would have made like this ending scene that much more gray.
Or he's happy at the sentiment, not even that, like not even disappointed that they don't know, or that he doesn't know enough people that care about him enough to make cranes.
Yeah.
There's the part where I was watching this where like I did get taken out a little bit because of how anime ass his like wiping of tears is. Like having cried before, I've never wiped my tears this like frantically and aggressively with this much movement. It just kind of made me laugh a little bit. It took me out for like a second, but that's just my own idiocy.
And I don't think you've sobbed in a while.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, get on our level, bro.
Never.
Be sad as fuck.
I just cry.
I thought that these flashbacks would have been, or like these little asides into character faces so you can feel the emotion. I feel like it would have been more impactful to have flashbacks there, just like of the people who were there as kids, to see that, because it's like it offers a little bit more resolve. But I also get like him just being okay with everyone in the moment at the very end of the festival scene. So
the way the manga ends is very open-ended. It's kind of similar because that happens in the manga, but they go forward and talk about what everybody wants to do in the future. And in that part, how the manga ends is literally, it's a super Japanese thing that they do. It's called the coming of age ceremony, where like a couple years after everybody graduates high school, they have like a ceremony for all the, like 20 is their 21 in Japan. So everybody turning 20, they like all get together and celebrate. And they have like a class reunion for the elementary school. And the manga ends with them like with Shoya grabbing Shoko's hand and just walking into the like meeting space. And like it's supposed
I like
to be
that.
like just charge head on into the future. Like who knows? Or obviously learn from the past, but you don't need to dwell in it.
Yeah, which is hard for all of us to do sometimes.
Yeah, this ending has a sort of like congratulations feel to it, but I sort of like it. Just the one scene where all of the X's fall off, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
the X's falling off. I was just like, this is so funny.
Yeah,
I still have to say, this is a good movie, and I just never want to experience this again. I just can't. Like, now that it's over, I really enjoyed watching it. I think it's an important movie, but for me, I don't think I can handle it again. Like those first 30 minutes.
It again.
I couldn't do it again. Yeah, but I couldn't watch the 30 minutes again. But we skip, like me sitting and watching it, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, my only gripe with the ending is that like it doesn't work that way, and I wish it did, but
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It does have a very congratulations-y feel to it, a little bit.
But it's I enjoy the sentiment that you can make it pass.
Yeah. Have either of you seen Anohana?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
No.
Andres?
It's on my list, but I haven't.
It is. I mean, I'll give the brief synopsis because it's totally relevant here. It's a group of friends it's a group of people who were friends in elementary school, who through a variety of circumstances are brought back together, after the death of one of their friends, after an accident in elementary school. And there are so many scenes from this that just scream like either inspired by or tackling similar subject matter to Anohana. In particular, the bridge scene. If you can imagine the bridge scene, but like every couple of episodes, that's sort of like the vibe of it. Is like a lot of like
just confronting the emotions over and over again.
Sort of. I mean, maybe not every few episodes. It's only 11 episodes long, or 12.
Oh, okay.
But it's yeah. If you like this content, but you want something a little bit more sad and a little bit more mysterious, you can check out Anohana.
What gave you this idea?
It's a very notorious tearjerker.
Oh, can't do it.
It's usually grouped up there with Your Lie in April. All right. We have been recording for 4 hours almost, so final thoughts.
The final thoughts. I said mine. I really did enjoy this experience. I don't want it. I know I told Andres like I hated it, and I came off maybe a bit strong. I just was not. Me personally, the connection of seeing a person who was deaf and who was a girl being bullied really hit like too close to home at some scenes. But the redemptions and the connections made for Shoya, for Yuzu, for Shoka definitely were worth it. But I just can't. I can't watch it again. That's where I stand. I powerful movie. I think a lot of people could actually learn from this about disabilities and about bullying. But me personally, I can talk about it for a long time, but I can evidenced by these 4 hours. But I cannot. I can't do it again. I can't voluntarily say that I would read. But I kind of now want to read it. Like as weird as it is, I kind of now do want to be like, maybe one time we'll watch it again. Like just experience all like the nuances we missed.
I would say reading it is worth it. It's a great read.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna end up reading the manga. It was already on my list, and I wanted to read the manga before watching the film, but it didn't work out that way. So now I definitely want to read it. I think I've said a lot of what I think about the movie already. It's beautiful, beautifully made, and also a beautiful story. It's like right on the cusp of like being really, really sad for me. But I appreciate not having something that's just like overarchingly depressing. Because I can find those. I can find those anime and those stories. But I think that it's like a really, really great adaptation for KyoAni to do. The score, we didn't really talk about the music at all, but the really light piano playing that accompanies most of the score is so effective. If the music was in different places at different dynamic levels, like louder or softer, I don't know if it would have been as effective, but like having a piano come in just at the right time during an emotional scene like sends me over. I don't know why, but yeah, it's great. I'm gonna watch it again, probably.
Just the way it's recorded, the way the piano's recorded, and like all the soundtrack is. I could have just a separate episode on the soundtrack itself, I think, but just like the way you can hear the keys being pressed is it's beyond me. Like that's so impeccably like well done.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I love this movie. I love the manga. I love Kyoto Animation, and I love Naoko Yamada. She is she is the largest inspiration for me to just kind of be a better person. So
I'm crying just at this part. I do want to make it. I do want to make it clear. I hope it didn't offend you too much. It's like too. It hurts me so much, but it is beautiful. It is a beautiful piece, honestly, of art in general.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad I didn't need to explain go in depth with why I identify with Shoya, but I'll just have you know I'm not a bully. Or I was never bullied. Or I am not a bully and was never bullied.
Gotta get those legal statements in there.
If we just learned right now that Andres like brutally bullied a kid, I'd be like this. I don't know this kid.
I should say I was never intentionally a bully.
Yeah, that's fair. Like when you were kids, you grow up, etc., etc.
Even as an adult, but that's a story I will not tell on on the podcast because I don't want to make this 4.5 hours.
Take that, Dad.
Yeah. I want you to find me an anime that will make me feel the way Alexi feels right now. Because you have a very nice way of finding these types of anime and stories in general in Japanese animation. So,
yeah, I can think about it. I mean,
I just want to watch Gridlock.
Part of what I love about this movie, though, is that it treats things very grounded, so you can relate to the characters and see how all this can actually happen, except maybe the scene where they meet each other after he just wakes up from a coma. But
Like so crazy. That is the one part I'm like, this is a fantasy. This is okay.
It's just very deeply relatable, and I kind of get the feeling that if this was live action, it wouldn't work as well. Because there's just so much subtleties to the animation and things like that you really can't get out of an actor without basically having a lawsuit on your hands, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like a masterwork in all regards, and I just think that everybody can benefit from watching it. Maybe not everybody should watch it, but I don't know.
I think that's so good as saying. Everyone definitely can benefit from watching this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, and I'm glad I was able to share it with you guys.
I'm glad I got to saw it.
I can't wait till Manny feels the way I feel.
Yeah, I know, me too. I'm waiting, man. Invite me over to your heart. We'll figure it out.
I'm just gonna be like, we're gonna watch Gurren Lagann and just be happy with our life. That's what we're gonna do with the I'm recommending, maybe a little too late because definitely a lot of people have released things about it. The existential crisis that is Bo Burnham's Inside on Netflix. It is about 90 minutes. It is for easy terms, a stand-up comedy special done by Bo Burnham, a very, 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 very creative comedian, one of my favorites. And he explains everything you need to know, and it's super good. It's super intense. I've been singing the songs since they came out. I wrote a music video for one of the songs, and I'm actually maybe going to be shooting it if I can get a TV head from my cousin, and then I'll start from there. But I'm really I'm excited for you guys to watch this.
Sick.
I'm excited.
But if that's going to be it, we'll see you all next time. We didn't even do any plugs.
If they made it, they're not going to make it that far.
Oh my god.